All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Please Rewind Live, Episode 3. So, let me give you a little backstory before we begin, because I guess this is relevant for the context of we're in. Also, if there's any audio issues, will you guys let me know, because we have this set up. We're in different places. I don't know how loud he's going to be and how loud I'm going to be, so the chat could really help with that to get the audio levels right. So, geez, going back, I don't know. I guess it would have to be over 2 years now, maybe even longer. I saw Alien Covenant, and I did a review of it. I did a video. I'm done with the Alien franchise. That was one of the first videos I did that gave me a lot of confidence that I could talk about movies and possibly do this, as a career, or just as a really enthusiastic, as an enthusiast, as a hobby. And I find a channel where a guy does an Alien Covenant video called What Happened to Ridley, and he does a follow-up video to that where he rewrites the movie. And I'm just like, this guy's fucking amazing. Like, his thumbnails, his voice, his commentary, his editing, great. And the dude only had like 3,000 subscribers, which I thought was crazy. I was like, what the hell? And I think I only had like 5,000 subscribers. And as the time went on, we started to talk to each other about this stuff and just movies and stuff, and being a YouTuber, and we went through all that and the ups and downs of it. And I think it became a pretty good friendship, one that was, mainly through, DMs on Twitter, and just admiring each other's work. And we had, an occasional collaboration and so on like that, where it would be like, hey, do you want to come on? Good to see you, Maverick. Do you want to come on and be in one of my videos? And I'll mention you in this video and so on like that. But we've been trying to get together for a long time is what I'm trying to get at. And I'm very excited to welcome our first guest to Please Rewind Live after 2 episodes where it was just me like soloing it. A YouTuber that's on the rise, a YouTuber I think is going to reach heights of 200 to 300,000 subscribers. And just a guy who I think... has a different take, a different comedic take, and an original perspective on these sort of things that I think I've become very bored of. The video essayist, the movie reviewer, if you will. But somebody that actually has a idiosyncratic way of presenting the way that they feel about these things and in the approach. So, everyone, it's finally happened, all the hype. CorderyFX is on Please Rewind Live. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hello. It's
Yes.
good to be here finally after 3 months of planning.
Yes, 3 months of planning. This was like a really long build up to a a first date, not in like a good way. Like, I'm already over the fact we're not having sex. That's out of the window. But hopefully we can still have a good dinner. Maybe, you have more money than I was expecting.
Mate, it'll be a relationship built on the one from Terminator Dark Fate with Arnold Schwarzenegger's robot and a family. Well, it's based on talking about our feelings.
Okay, so he's 5% louder than me. All right, so I guess I need to turn you down a smidge. Okay, I turned you down a little bit. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit and so on like that, but I'm going to actually ask you some questions. I want this to be more of sort of in an interview format, because obviously you're someone who has your channel kind of blowing up, and you've had some really successful videos, so you're the one that I kind of want to talk to about. I want to pick your brain a bit because I'm jealous. No, I'm actually very happy for you. But the thing I want to ask, okay, let's start off with this. What is the inception of CorderyFX? I don't want to, hear about your childhood and your movies and all that bullshit. I want to know, what got you first to be like, I want to make YouTube videos. What were the first YouTube videos you made, and when did you start to get a groove to get to somewhat of the point where you're at now? When did you first start to picture that you were going to make videos like that?
Right, so when I was a child, and I was like, when the internet's invented, I'm getting on a goddamn YouTube channel. No, so CorderyFX isn't my first YouTube channel. I've made like a bunch throughout the years, ever since high school, like dabbling into that community. And like in high school, it started with like stop motion animation of toys and stuff. That was me practicing my editing and visual effects. Then it moved on to a few other things, and then Yeah, finally, CorderyFX was the one that actually took off. But my channel was not big, did not start as a movie review channel at all.
Did you? What was the first one that was like a movie review? Do you remember? Like, was it the Alien one?
Yeah,
That was the
yeah,
first, and that did really well. So I think we talked about it because my video did well, and we both. I was under the illusion at the time, like, hey, I made it. Like, this video's got 100,000 views, and it got a good reception. Because it's one thing to get a video with a lot of views, but like if you have nothing but dislikes and a bunch of shitty comments. But both of our videos had really positive reception, and I still think, in retrospect, your video is like probably my favorite video on Alien Covenant. I liked your movie Sex video and Red Letter Media, but your video in particular. But your follow up video, man, um, the one where you did the rewrite, which I wish you would do this more often. Or like how you did the Terminator happen 3 times. I really like these videos where you don't review a movie, but you just have this concept that you play out in a video. Because
yeah.
I think
Well,
that shows
sometimes
your
that kind of
continue. Yes.
yeah. Well, sometimes that makes its way into some reviews where I'll give a little spin on what I would have done. But sometimes when the idea is just too big, it kind of warrants its own video.
Well, I wanna know where, because okay, I'm fascinated with Michael Fassbender's voice because it's fucking insane, and it seems to change on every movie. And you did this because I do an impression of his Steve Jobs voice, the not the Danny Boyle Steve Jobs movie, and that voice he does that's fucking insane in that movie. And I always
Mm.
do that voice joke, but you do if I remember correctly, in that rewrite, you do this David impression as him, and it's so fucking funny. Like, where did you come up with that? Did you like just
Uh,
go off
I
memory or?
No, that I don't deserve credit for that. I stole that impression from talented other YouTuber voice actor called Duncan Casey of Valverde Broadcasting, who I just got in my Halloween special. He does such incredible. Something I've learned is you can do an incredible impression by studying the way another impressionist does the voice,
Yes, it's very true.
and and so any commentary that comes out of Valverde Broadcasting, when those two guys get together, it doesn't matter what actor it is, what this movie is. The second they get on some tangent where they're comparing two dumb ideas together, he just does the impression to like just sell that whole idea. And some like they did X-Men, I think Days of Future Past, and so he kept doing them. Well, my name's Michael Fassbender. This is my accent, and this is how I talk. And he was saying it as if he was Magneto, and he's like, "Oh, my name's Magneto. I control the metal with my singular metal magneto." And I kept doing that voice to myself, and I was like, putting this in a video.
No, it killed me when I watched that video. That's what killed me, is every time you did the David voice, and it would be like, I've got to get the plans, like the way you were doing it when he was talking. But
And all the
your rewrite was great though. Like, it was really like I mean, it's easy to like, armchair quarterback when you see a bad movie and look at the blueprint of it and try to be like, well, you could do this now. But I don't remember everything about that video because I haven't watched it in a long time, obviously. But I remember that your whole thing, because you kept a lot of the things, like you kept that David was very much like the main thing in the movie, and his plan and plot twist of it, but you just but it's just so funny because that's what made the video. Every time I went into it and you did that fucking voice, I just lost my shit. And then I kept watching your stuff, and it was like I felt like I saw that your channel was really good and it should be more, and it just wasn't. I was very confused about it. Because you would make these really good videos, and then you had some success, right, with that Justice League video, but didn't that get more views down the road than it did initially?
Yeah, it was a successful video at the time, but since then it went on. It like was my second most viewed video for like this entire year, which thankfully has now been beaten out by my new Terminator Timelines video.
Yeah, I really liked that video. Well, I remember because that was the first time I heard somebody ever share something of mine or like a joke. Because Zach Schneeder And you stay Schneeder in that Justice League video, I remember. But you have that Batman montage where he beats the guys. You add the old '60s Batman effects to the Batman murder scenes. Did you edit that and come up with that, or did you take that from somebody
Yeah.
else?
No, so that whole thing was my idea. But I came up with that idea like I think 2 weeks before I saw Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, because I knew I'd be touching on Batman vs Superman a bit, just because I had never made a video of that like prior. So I was like, oh, what a great idea to point out how violent his Batman is, and I was like, oh, I was thinking about the '60s cartoon show. Whenever they have a fight scene, then like the sound effects would come up, and then all of a sudden the jokes just started building. Like, oh, so every time instead of saying zap and biff and bam, it's going to say like brain hemorrhage or internal bleeding, like what, like trying to present the violence as if it's something silly, like that '60s show. Then all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden the Mortal Kombat X-ray idea came into him. Like, oh, so every time he punches it, we're going to see the X-ray of the bones that are shattering. And then, yeah, thankfully I made that a week ahead of time. And then I saw Justice League and I was like, oh, great. So thankfully I didn't like the movie. So this will fit perfectly into it.
Well, one thing I will say, I think that most reminded me of like classic Plinkett. I was thinking of like the Attack of the Clones video where Anakin fights Sidious, and it's like a video game. The power
Yeah.
levels, like your visual presentation, because I remember the comments on that. Everybody was like, "Holy fuck, that Batman montage!" I was glad to hear you think, yeah, because it is that comedic juxtaposition you come up with to make it campy while it's also this exploitive, violent bullshit that Zack Snyder's doing, but you're mocking it even more by how you're presenting it in that way,
Yeah.
which really sells your point very well. Like, because it's one thing that's good about your videos. Typically with your videos, and I know that you started to get a lot of copyright, which I did too. I get a lot of my when I do video, and you kind of went to more of a picture format for a while. But I remember your
Yeah.
videos when you did footage, you always were very good at finding a way to visually reinforce the point you just made in the review and then have the occasional bit go off without getting into this like laborious 45-minute thing. Do you still stick to pictures mostly? How do you find that you work around the copyright thing? Because I found my ways to work around getting copyright, but what do you typically do to try and keep your videos monetized and not get copyright claimed?
Yeah. So a method I started playing around with, which has now become my template, is whenever I show footage, it's always I shrink the clip down, I put the poster next to it, and then I hide a bit of the footage behind the poster. I think that's been helping me since, but I try to use audio as less as possible. But I just got a massive copyright claim on my Terminator Timelines video that took like 2 weeks to dispute, but finally that got overturned, and it's for the dumbest reason as well. I used the deleted scene from Terminator One where Sarah and Kyle are in the forest, and he breaks down because he's never seen greenery before. I only use that just for that specific line Sarah says. She is the one that says the "no fate but what we make" speech in the deleted scene. So it's like, oh, it all originated from her, and it's like it's funny that the movies never show that. But it used the love theme from the first movie, and I couldn't get that out of there, and that was not the point of the clip, but that's what got the claim. And everyone's like, "You're trying to steal that music." It's like that wasn't even the point.
Okay, yeah, because I've been getting them. I found a way where I don't know if you've watched any of my recent videos. I know you've been busy, but I've been doing this thing where my stuff's in like a television screen. Um,
Yeah,
and I found because I watch a lot of times people upload movies on the internet. They upload like full features or like episodes from TV shows that you can't find, and they put it in like a little box somewhere in the corner or in something, and it seems like YouTube doesn't pick it up. And I thought, is there a way I can do that? I used to do this with a theater. I would get an image with a green screen of a movie theater and put the footage in the theater screen, and that would work. But then I thought with the Please Rewind concept, what I always wanted was, show the clips, talk over them, and then maybe occasionally cut to Pat, in the video store or what have you, or put them in something. But then when I came up with that thing about just being in the television, it kind of happened during a live stream. I haven't been getting copyright claims since I started doing that, so that's worked for me. But there's a lot of videos that they'll get me for like 30 fucking seconds, of something. that maybe I didn't cut the stuff just right 5 seconds, and it's very annoying because a lot of those videos are ones that take weeks to make.
Yeah.
You know, they take like, I mean, some like the Garden State video has a copyright claim, and that was a very like, that was a lot of it. You know, that was one where I had to download the whole movie, you know, and edit, you know, from 2 hours of movie. I couldn't just go like get clips for that. I had to have the whole thing to
Mm.
edit that. And yeah, I got the cut, and it just pisses me off so fucking much. And yet there's other videos I've made that have way more footage in it for some reason. It seems to be the studios too. That like Warner Brothers is a real pain in the ass for a lot of people.
Yeah. Universal.
Yes, Universal, they seem to be really fucking bad about it. And it's I don't know. So does that affected you? Have you like lost money on a copyright claim taking your ad revenue on a video that did well?
No, thankfully that's not the case. I've actually been pretty fortunate with copyright claims in general. Like I don't get them that often, but there are some sacrifices I had to make. Like some of my Transformers commentary tracks, we had the TV too loud, so it actually picked up some of the songs.
Right.
But the commentary tracks aren't money makers, so I'm fine with some of them. And my Jurassic World is Transformers extended video. I just couldn't get around disputing that because I am flat out just using footage and music from two different movies, but not for fair use at all.
So when did okay, let's start to we'll get through this a little bit. So you have a guy here who has a background in I'm assuming cinematography and special effects and editing in general. You seem to be very technical in that department. Like that's your study. Is a lot of from what I saw from your old videos. I could be wrong, but it seems like you know a lot about special effects and lenses. I'm assuming and cameras and how to blend CG with. And you're a very good editor. So was that more of what you wanted to do? You wanted to be somebody who worked on movies in that kind of capacity, and that was what the early YouTube videos were too, like the Green Lantern video.
Yeah, so mostly visual effects and editing are like my major skill set, but writing and directing is the goal to only do. But yeah, I'm not that knowledgeable about lenses and cameras, although I have like my own gear and stuff, but I'm like sort of not up to date on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know how to frame well,
Yeah,
and I know how to compose a shot. So
you understand
we
you're
can start.
someone who, if you were a filmmaker, you would work with the cinematographer and you would help compose the shot and let him. I mean, this is something people don't get. You've worked on movies too. People think that, especially in today's world, that you do everything, and it's like, I promise you that most filmmakers, most of us out there, would like to have a cinematographer instead of doing it ourselves because it's nice to have. It's okay to have a guy who knows more about photography than you. It's okay to have somebody working on sets that knows more than you. It's okay to have actors who know more about acting than you. You know, it's part
Yeah,
of your hope is that I can't remember what filmmaker said this. It was someone like trying to think. It was Sidney Lumet, I think, where he said that as a filmmaker, you're basically hoping to create a happy accident. You're hoping that you can build enough of a foundation with the script you have or the crew that you have to create a series of accidents, happy accidents where serendipity happens. Because the movie's really being made while you're making it. And it almost takes
yeah,
on this meta thing where you really aren't making the like you're not doing the mise en scene until you're shooting when you really figure out the blocking. And you can do as much pre-production as possible. But there's some kind of energy when you're on a set with people and you're playing pretend with a group of people, and it's one of the big things is get other people that know more than you about certain things. But you know that's so. How many movies have you worked on, and what different capacities have you worked on in the movies, and how long have you been doing that since you were a teenager? Or
well, yeah, I made the decision I wanted to be a filmmaker in mid high school, but I had to wait a whole year until I could start film school. But so that I'd make little films with my friends in high school, and then did film school for 2 years, and then after that, it's been like working on a lot of short films, not my own. We entered the 48-hour film project a bunch of times, Trop Fest, and then for the most part, 5 to 6 years, me and all my friends spent making a feature film called Lieutenant Jangles, which hopefully should be available on Blu-ray within the month or just over 2 months.
Can you tell me
And
what this movie's about? If I'm not aware. And is there a trailer somewhere?
yeah, so film's called Lieutenant Jangles. It's an Australian 80s cop comedy. So you just picture the 80s cop genre, but planting it in Brisbane, Australia, and like what that will look like. It's a movie that has all the tropes of an 80s film, but like since it's through the prism of bogan redneck Australia, like you've never seen this presentation before. And yeah, there's a trailer available.
So what was the who came up with the idea? Was it you collaborating with other people? Like what was the conceptual formation of this? What was the birth of this idea, and how long did it take to develop it, write it, shoot it, and do post production and all that? Like give me the shit. I want to know the minutia of making this.
Well, that's the problem. We just made a hour and 40-minute making of for the Blu-ray. And I vowed that is officially the time I'll never have to tell the fucking story again. Just because it is so, like.
Can you give us like abbreviated version or like a highlight? Can you give us like I don't know, a summary of what it was like?
Well, essentially, Lieutenant Jangles was born out of an inside joke. Working on the end credits for a 48-hour film. And it was a joke about one of our friends. And then my other friend Nick was just like, I love this character, and the person we got that we slapped the name on. I want to see a whole movie about this. And then the original guy didn't want to do it. And then we just picked one of our other friends from film school who's not an actor, but has like amazing charisma, like a Paul Hogan, like classic Dundee Australian charisma, like that's never been seen since. And then 2, 3, 4 miserable years of no budget filmmaking, and the films is finally done.
Wait, did you say 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, so we had like a few months of pre-production, and then we had a 3-month filming block, and then we did a rough cut, and we realized there was a lot of plot problems. And then we went back the following year and spent like the whole year filming 30 minutes more plot, as well as editing that footage. And then it took basically 2 years of post-production.
Somebody just asked in the chat real quick, what are your thoughts on Gladiator?
Oh, Gladiator. I've seen it once. One of my friend Brendan were like trying to work on a script together for another film, and he kept going like, "Oh, this movie's just like Gladiator. Oh, it's like Gladiator. There's like so many references to this that I can make from Gladiator." I'm like, "Man, I haven't seen this movie," and he like gave it to me to watch one day, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and I don't remember a thing from it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Gladiator. I've spoken about. It's always been like my plan is to make like a hour and a half long video on Gladiator, and break it down, and also like its best picture win and how it like solidifies Ridley Scott's career for a lot of people, in particular like the second half of his career, I think is sort of held up by Gladiator success. So then after that, Ridley Scott was like, I'm the guy who makes $100 million movies, and even collaborated with Russell Crowe a lot. But somebody was just asking about. I think it's a very overrated movie, though. I'll say that. As some people think it's one of the best movies of all time, and I've never understood it. But what's your before we'll go off your YouTube channel for a minute here. We'll talk about something else. What's your relationship with Ridley Scott? And when you started this whole what happened to Ridley, and then you did what happened to Shane with the Predator movie. Can you tell me a little bit about the idea behind that, or what you're getting at, where you're sort of like, what happened to this old filmmaker that I used to like? And I remember one thing you played a lot with is you showing clips of Ridley Scott in interviews and just how drunk he comes across and how he contradicts himself. Did you watch a bunch of interviews with Ridley Scott, or were you just kind of, did you find, I mean, he's your avatar, so I'm curious, what's this like thing with Ridley Scott? Do you just find him amusing?
Right. So I think. Oh, first of all, the video was called "What's Up with Ridley," not what's happened.
Oh, sorry, yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Because I was like, I don't want to put a shitty clickbait title if it's like a mislead. So I was like, well, the whole video is exploring like what is going on with him. Like he's like, oh, I'm gonna return to the Alien franchise. I'm gonna bring it back to its integrity. But then he just makes this thing that fans don't want, and new audiences are like, well, it's like dipping its toe too much in Alien to be like, oh, so it's a setup for something, but it's not quite original. And then yeah, I think the first Alien Covenant video is probably one of the most researched videos I did ahead of time, where I did watch all those interviews first and as much facts as possible. Then I was like, I constructed the review around what I'd researched. Everything now is like, it's like sort of like what I already know. And then I just move forward. Um, but as for the what's up with Shane, that was me trying to sell out and recapture success.
Is
So I
that
was
the
like, oh, maybe
truth?
the
Because I feel I do
yes,
that sometimes too. I did that with. I'm glad you said it's very honest, because that's a YouTube thing where like you have success with something and then you try to go do something like different, and then it doesn't really work, and then or it doesn't go what you at least expected. Maybe it didn't. Not that it didn't work, but then you're like, well, like when I did those Star Wars videos, and I just did
yeah,
that first one why Rose doesn't work. That was the only thing I could think of. You know, even grammatically, it's kind of an odd thing, like why Rose doesn't work. It sounds like why she doesn't like have a job. You know, but I couldn't think
yeah,
of. I didn't want to do like why Rose Tico sucks. You know, so I was trying to find like and I usually find videos that have sort of a odd title like that seem to do well a lot of the time, and just the thumbnail. You'll see this with like ER or someone like that will have that kind of success. So I did that. Then I did why Luke doesn't work, and I did why Rayload, and they all did well. You know, every single
yeah.
one of them got a lot of views. And then when Solo came out, you know, I did a why Solo doesn't work, and it got, you know, it got like 9,000 views, but it didn't get like the, you know, 300,000 views, you know, that the other one didn't get. And then I was like, oh shit, you know, what do I do now? So
Yeah,
do you
it's really
struggle with
annoying when that
that?
happens.
Like,
Yeah, I'm always trying to be original and new, but then sometimes I try to like recapture some success. Like the Predator review, I even made the thumbnail like cosmetically match the Alien Covenant one by having Shane Black's sad face in it. But also the like my Nun review, which is my biggest success, with the Annabelle Comes Home and La Llorona review, I literally made the thumbnails like it looks like they're in a specific order, or like it's a part of the same review series.
yeah. Can I guess we'll have to transition to that because you brought it up because I was waiting to get to that, but I guess we'll talk about it. So, your channel is at a pretty small to average level for most YouTubers out there. You had like what, like I think like 4,000 subscribers, 5,000 subscribers. I can't remember this exact number, but we were pretty close, I believe, in subscriber count. And
Yeah.
then we would talk
Uh,
occasionally on Twitter, and I watched your videos when they came out, and I would always bring you up on Box Office Addict and stuff like that. You know, I would say like, oh, people need to go watch this content. So then you make the video, you make the Nun, which is like, what is it? The representation of modern day horror, the worst of modern day horror. Um,
Everything wrong with modern day
yeah,
horror.
everything wrong with modern day horror. So you gotta take me through this because I gotta know what's it like to make a video that gets 1 million views? Because we're not talking like your video did a few hundred that. We're talking like a viral, like 1 million people clicked on a video. What was it like getting up? And can you actually take people through that when you look and see, you know, you're refresh? I've done it. You're refreshing the page, and you see
Yeah,
how many
yeah.
more views you got, and you go look at your social blade, and you're like, wait, what? You know, and then you're just waiting for that ad revenue to come in and see what it is. So take us through that day when you get up in the video. I don't know, like, did it get 100,000 views immediately? What happened?
Yeah, so it was not that at all. And the one word I can describe that review is unpredictable. So I was in America for about 2 weeks because Lieutenant Jangles played at a festival in Virginia, and me and my friend Nick flew over to represent the film there. And like, just as I got back, I was like, well, I haven't done any YouTube in a few months, so I better like get on the horse and review something. And like, The Nun coincidentally just came out when I got back to Australia. I was like, oh yeah, the stupid Nun, that part from The Conjuring is getting some spin-off. I'll go review that, I guess. And like, I went with my housemate, we saw it, and we're just like, this movie sucks. And then I went home, and then I just like all the reviews I make them all like the same way. I don't think a single review I've made, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a success. But I always like try to my hardest to like edit and make it like a decent video. And The Nun, I thought I thought I slapped that review together. So I was like, oh, it's just a good opportunity for me to bitch about my frustrations with where horror movies have gone. But I upload that video and it does like no business. For the whole week goes past, it makes like probably 1 to 2,000 views. And I was like, oh, that was a dud. And then I was like, the Predators come out the following week. I'll quickly get the energy and I'll review that. And then that did take off a bit better, but literally over like a week and a half after the Nun review came out, overnight, the Nun review like rocketed past that one. And I was like, holy shit, where did that success come from? And then it just didn't stop. It just went up and up and up.
Yeah. Well, what was the? Because that thing, I like what you said. I felt like I slapped that one together because all of my videos that have done well, I mean, all of them. There's not a single one of them yet that isn't one of the big ones. Because I probably have at least like 20 videos with over 100,000 views. I have like 4 million views. I think you have like 8 million or something like that, a little bit more than that. I don't know exactly where you're at right now. I don't check all the time. But you have over 5 million views on your channel for sure. I just don't know. But mine's like 4 million. And all of the videos that have like 100,000 views or 200,000 views, they're either a box office addict where people think it's me uploading the movie, even though it's called Box Office Addict, and it says breaking down the box office. Like my Equalizer 2 Box Office Addict has 200,000 views. The Medea one has 2. And all of the comments, if you read them, is people giving me shit saying that, it's actually really funny. They're people that are trying to watch the movie free on YouTube, and they think I set up this clickbait thing because it's a live stream and it was 2 hours. So they think that I'm pretending that it's the movie. They click on the video, see it's not the movie, then they give me a dislike and then tell me to fuck off. There's thousands of these comments. Thousands. Yeah. In particular on the Medea and Jumanji one. And I always write back to them. I'm like, hey, dude, like, it says Box Office Addict like 27. Then it says Jumanji 2, and then in the thumbnail it says I'm talking about the weekend box office. So I don't think that's clickbait technically. I get how they could feel like there was some subterfuge. But all the main series videos that I felt like just kind of happened, and that's kind of the weird thing is that you really don't know what's going to be a hit, even if you think you're starting to figure it out. Like there's no way you knew that was going to be the video that was going to get like 1 million views. Yeah. So when did you realize like this was a thing, and when the subscriber count started to jump up? And I remember it seemed like, oh, maybe it'll stop at 15,000. Then it was 20,000. Then it became very clear, like, oh, you're gonna reach like 30, 40,000 subscribers here. It kicked up this trajectory. Can you kind of go through when that all happened and what you were feeling?
Well, I was stoked because the money that review made was very satisfying.
I'm sure that's the best. That's the best part is when you see it coming, you're like, oh shit, I can go out to dinner tonight.
Well, I can go out to dinner tonight in a month's time when I get my YouTube check.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to say like cliche, like did it change your life, but did it like validate you in any way, like all that time and waiting, and then, you got something out of it?
Yeah, sort of solidified that, okay, I guess YouTube can be a job. Even though for a year straight I was like, I'm trying to get the channel to be more successful because like it does pay. It doesn't pay a lot, but when it does, it can, like, if it paid more, it could really help. And then like that Nun review exploding was just like, oh shit, I think this is my full-time job now.
Uh,
Still
did
hasn't become the case, but
did you have a job?
it's
What was
still
your
more.
were you like working when that'll happen?
No, so at the time I was living in my grandmother's shed because I had to move out of my share house to finish Jangles because the visual effects and editing workload was just too much, and I couldn't like get other freelancer work. So mum was like, "Oh, if you move in," because grandma had dementia and needed to like have an extra person in the house to keep an eye on her. She was like, "Just move into the shed; it'll be great." And so I did that for like 2 miserable years.
Well, this is like the classic like rags to riches story. Like you were living in a shack at your your mother's place. And then like you're grinding making this movie, and then this thing you have off on the side is a lottery ticket. It's a golden ticket to the chocolate factory.
Yeah, it was
Um
kind of great because the trip we went to America right before the Nun video blew up, I spent like 1,500 of my own saved up money because I had an editing gig at the start of that year, and the whole trip pretty much costed that, and I was just kind of like all bummed out. I'm like, oh, there was so much money saved, but it was a good opportunity to represent our movie in America. And then I get back, I'm like, oh, time to get into the YouTube grind, start again. Then I make this video, then within 2 weeks, it's already paid my entire American vacation back all over again, and it's still climbing. I was like, wow, all right, that was everything, nowhere to go but up now.
let me ask you about that though. What do you do after that? Because you get the high of that, and then you chase the dragon a little bit because you haven't. Like I'll let me bring up Mahler, right? Mahler makes these Star Wars videos, and they all get like a few million views, and then his channel blows up. And whenever Mahler uploads one of those rage videos, it gets about a million views every time. Every time he uploads one of those videos, it's huge. But with you, you
Mm.
haven't reached that success with the Nun again. Then I mean, you've had videos that have done really, really well, and your channel does really well overall. But is there what's the feeling with that? That do you feel like you're living in the shadow of that video, or are you just going with the wave? Does it make it tough when you try to make different content because you're thinking, do I have to recreate that success again? And you talked about that you felt like you had a niche in horror movies, and I've noticed your horror videos do really well. How do you
Yeah,
feel
so
about that?
well, I don't know. Post releasing the Nun review, there's been lots of ups and downs, and like the ups are like a better direction I'm heading into, but the downs are like, all right, so I'm going to have to stop making certain types of experimental videos because yeah, I was used to. So the channel starts off with Alien Covenant, and that puts me in that stereotype for a little bit because I was like, oh, I tried reviewing Wonder Woman and Pirates of the Caribbean 500, and it just didn't. They weren't hits, and I was like, oh, so I think Alien is what makes me successful. So then started sticking to like more Alien content, and I was trying to review other stuff, and I was getting a few hits with like branching out to Transformers and Pacific Rim. And then I was trying to be just a movie reviewer of like everything, like by everything I mean mostly comic book movies, because that's like the only thing coming out the cinema anymore. Hashtag RIP Scorsese. But yeah, and then I make the Nun review, and I'm like, all right, I think I want to head in a horror direction because horror is a more fun genre than superhero stuff. But I spent like a lot of time this year trying to grind out superhero movie reviews, like my Aquaman and Captain Marvel and Shazam and Hellboy, and they weren't that successful. And I was like, I feel like I don't have anything left to talk about comic book movies. And then yeah, that's just I made that decision after the Godzilla review bombed. I was like, all right, no more action and superhero franchises, just because the fan base is like their shell of knowledge is getting too hard to penetrate anymore with like out of the box thinking. It's all like, fuck you, we love this product and we're not changing our mind despite its presentation. I was like, all right, horror movies are now the way to go. And I've had more success reviewing horror films since, and it's just more fun overall.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it right now, and like your Venom review has 95,000 views, but then I look at Hereditary, Everything Right with Modern Horror, and I see 260,000 views, which I'm assuming is more of the average you would like to have.
Yeah,
Is that kind of range where like you do Ant-Man and the Wasp was 18,000 views, which don't get me wrong, these are all really respectable. One thing that people don't get is the trickle down effect. Is a lot of your videos that didn't have a lot of views after that Nun review came out, they all go up in views too. Your older videos also start to get more views once you add subscribers.
yeah,
And this definitely happened with your channel. In particular, that Justice League video, I remember getting much more views after the fact than when it came out. I mean, yeah, I remember it did well before, but now it's got like 300,000 views. It was
yeah.
later down the road, but
Well, I made
yeah,
that Ultron and Thanos video, and that sat on like 500 views for a year,
yeah, I remember
and
that one.
and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it blew up to becoming like my second most viewed video, which we kept getting neck and neck with the Justice League review. I'm like, man, when are these going to stop getting views? Because I've moved past whatever my point of view was at the time of those films, and by that I mean I've forgotten what they're about.
What's your favorite video of yours? And then the second question here: what was the most fun video to make, or the most fulfilling video to make? So it's two separate questions because it might not be the same answer.
Um, well, my favorite video I have made to date is definitely the spooky specials
Hmm.
because that was a video I've been planning like all year with my housemates. I'm like, man, we're all gonna get together. We're gonna watch three horror movies that came out and bombed or no one watched that none of us have seen before. So it's a completely fresh experience. And then like yeah, watching each film. Thankfully, like they're all bad, but none of them were to the point of like boring or miserable where you couldn't say anything about them. And they're turning into like a legit Halloween special with like a Vincent Price narration and all that stuff. That was really fun. Although it was fun, to make, and I'm the most proud of it. But it was kind of stressful to make because I was running out of time in October to get it done by Halloween. But I think the video that was the most fun to make is still probably the Jaws video.
Let's talk about the Jaws video. So I get a message one day from Cordery, and I actually have. I'll make a complaint here when I get to it because I feel like I could have had something go better if I had more. But it's not really. It's just a YouTube thing versus like if we could have actually done this better. But I get a message at Cordery's like, "Do you want to do a voice for me in a video?" And I'm like, well, what? Sure, what the fuck? What is it? And a lot of the time when you do voice acting, which I've done before, you kind of get you get a sense of like what you're doing. Like you usually get to see the animation, the way it goes through. But I would say I had very little knowledge of what this was going to turn out to be. I had basically a concept of what it was going to be and some images, but compared to what ended up being in the final product, I had no idea it was going to be that. But if you don't know, there's this. He uploaded this Jaws: The Revenge review on April Fool's Day, and it's the day I uploaded my Garden State video, coincidentally, which I had been working on for a couple weeks. And his whole idea is that he's praising Jaws: The Revenge, the fourth Jaws movie, where the shark has a telekinetic connection to the Brody family to kill them. It's a crazy fucking movie. It's considered one of the worst sequels ever made. So he praises it, and he has this whole bit, which I didn't know what this was gonna be. I had no idea what the fuck this was gonna be, and I just sent him audio. He gave me a script, and I was like, and I didn't really get the line structure. Now, once I saw the video I did, I wish I could re-record that stuff because I'm not happy with how it came out. But you told me this thing where it's like you're a shark on a phone on a payphone, and I was like, what? You're like a shark on a payphone. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you high? Which he probably was. We were both high. That was the problem. And
No, I was stone sober, like thinking, like, man, how can I make this make any more sense? It's like
yeah, well,
it's exactly what it sounds.
he's a fucking idiot. He doesn't get it. He. Well, I didn't know it was going to be like Raphael and the Ninja Turtles, where the shark was going to be wearing this fucking coat. And like, it's literally when someone messages you for a YouTube video, it says it's a shark on a payphone. I don't know what that means. I'm picturing like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like there's going to be an image of this? Is it going to be like you don't see it. I didn't know he was actually gonna like it like a CGI. It's like a fucking special effect shark on the payphone. Like it's literally what he said it was, which seems
Yeah, see?
crazy. When you get it sent to you, it seems
Where
like
was the lie?
yeah, it seems abstract to you. So I sent you I think like three different versions of each line that you sent me the script to, and I didn't get that I was going to be talking the other end. So there's a scene in Jaws 4 where one of the children of the family, it's very early on, it's like the beginning of the movie, he gets a phone call that he has to come move this piece of wood basically because it's gonna block the fishermen, so the fishermen can't fish. So there's this whole dialogue exchange on a telephone. So Cordy presented it as this was a deleted scene that left out context for the final movie. And at this point in the video, it seems like a legit video. This is kind of the plot twist of the video from a structural standpoint. This is when it stops being real and becomes a joke. So his idea is that he's wondering who called on the phone. This is the big secret. This would fix this movie. And it turns out his theory is it's the shark who you did not see at the Christmas party. So naturally, it had to be the shark. Who else could it be? And it turns out the shark is on the phone calling to kill the guy. And then you do this great thing where you find parallels and imagery to It with the raincoat and the teeth and Pennywise. And you think it's like you and what's funny, this is a good lesson to learn if for people who want to review movies or break them down. If you have a certain level of knowledge, you can make a good movie sound bad and a bad movie sound good. It's really kind of a trick of it, isn't it? And that's
Got a lot of people commenting on the video going, man, I was like so into your theory until you revealed at the end it was April Fool.
yeah. No, exactly. Like they get one over that you can navel gaze things. You can make things sound amazing that suck. You can add subtext that isn't there. So you were adding all of these layers to it. Like, no, this is a deep psychological film, you know. And
Yeah, and the filmmakers of It ripped it off.
yeah, they ripped it off. Like the book didn't exist before the movie too. That's the best part. It's like the filmmakers of It clearly plagiarized Jaws the Revenge, and they made all of this money, and this film has been ignored. So I didn't really know what it was going to be, so I just sent these audio recordings, and then I watched it, and I actually think that's easily one of your best videos, because just even talking about those ideas, like I didn't know you were going to do that stuff, like the shark wasn't at the party, so personally I think it was the shark. And then you recreating the scene, and you're describing it afterwards. You're like, I really like the effect of the shark having the cloth over the phone so he can hide his voice. You're like, that's very good filmmaking. I'm glad they thought that. I'm glad they thought that out.
Yeah, I said that's a nice touch because the woman on the phone won't be able to recognize who it is.
She won't recognize.
Because apparently,
the shark.
but see, that's why I think it's funny that you didn't know what it was going to be, because I think I gave you one quick direction before you sent the lines going, make yourself sound fat and heavy.
Yes.
Which I think you might have missed.
I did miss, yes.
And you just and so you just talk normally, and I'm just like laughing my ass off when I get the recording. I'm like, oh, do I get him to do it again? I was like, oh, no, it's a deleted scene, so it's going to be like a temp. So someone did the voice, and they get like a voice actor later be like, I'm the shark. We need to move the wood in the fish bay. Well, so I was like, no, just keeping it as your normal voice is hilarious.
No, I get that, like you explaining it that way, the temp, because I wish I had done more, because if I'd picked up on it more, I would have done more of like a voice of the shark being, like he's fat and he's on the phone, the channel marker can't fish, but instead it was really just kind of like me talking. And it's my voice is very odd with that image. It's a very bizarre. That voice does not fit that shark, which makes it even more bizarre and surreal as a video. Because I don't think when anyone expects that scene, they don't expect. Because a lot of times somebody would do their voice, like you would just do the voice, but to have some random American guy show up, in this Australian guy's video. And I have a very, like high voice too. It doesn't fit, but I guess there is a comedic aspect to it. Like it's like some guy who was just working on the movie and he put his voice in there so they could time it later. Like, hey, I got it, guys. Don't worry, I'll read it. You know.
Well, first of all, I'm trying to sell people on the fact that there's a shark on a payphone. Why not just keep going and not have the voice match at all?
I never thought about it that way. That actually makes more sense now that I think about it. Yeah, because I mean, it's easy to be critical. Like, I didn't see any negative comments about it, but it was easy to watch and be like, damn it. I wish I could have had another fucking shot at that. It like drives me crazy. I mean, I do like the part where I say the fisherman can't fish. I kind of like that, but but that video is great, man. I mean, that really is like, for me, like that shows the potential of what your videos can be, where it is more, there is an absurdism and a surrealism to it and originality. I don't think that shark thing, that's so original that you didn't just come up with the idea. A lot of people, I do this, you would riff on an idea, a joke, or in a video. Like Red Letter Media is great at that. Like they'll be doing a half in the bag and they'll just come up with something and it's funny. But you actually visualizing the joke that you're telling
Mm.
is
Well,
the brilliance of that.
well, that was a very special video because the shark on the payphone's been a joke of mine for like probably a decade. Because like I'm the only one I know that has not only have seen Jaws 4 but have seen it many times to like pick up on that shit. Because everyone's just like, oh, the movie's just boring and bad. Don't watch it. So I was just like, I'd always point that fact out to people. Like, man, someone rings the station to stop. To like, why the hell does a little bit of wood need to be moved when everyone's at the Christmas festival at nighttime? Who the hell is ringing? And it has to be the deputy that does it. I was like, man, what if the fucking shark was on the phone? Because like, who else? I couldn't get past who else. And I was like, man, I need to animate that one day. It's the shark on the phone. And then like, thankfully I was like, oh, April Fools. This would be a dynamite video for April Fools. And then once I started writing, I started coming up with all that extra shit like the shark mafia.
Yes, that stuff's all. That's the thing. If I had known how good the rest of the video was gonna be, like I didn't realize like, you were fucking Orson Welles in this shit. Like I didn't like it was. I think the script to that is just fucking off the charts. Like good. Like yeah, the shark mafia. Um, because what's really kind of great is that you're not really talking about the movie so much. It's all this stuff that you came up with that connects to the movie, but so much of it's you. It's like you don't have to have seen that movie to enjoy that video, which is one of the like purest things about it.
Yeah, I feel like making fun of like the DC film world and how you see DC fans react, and they justify stuff in like the Snyder films that the whole rest of the planet has deemed dumb, kind of helped write that video. Because when you know how bad Jaws 4 is as a movie, and your goal is to make a video that's like pretending it's a masterpiece, I was able to pull so many like that train of thought from that fan base. The ones that justify like the Batman vs Superman as being like intelligent and artful. You get to like analyze that and be like, all right, I'm going to say that Jaws 4 is the greatest psychological horror ever made. And I just start, man, it was such a blast to write. Just getting able to like justify dumb ideas, but acting like it's high art was like, yeah, probably the most fun.
I love your point there that the Zack Snyder fans, the real thing that's insane about them to a lot of us, or comedic, is that they'll take this movie that's clearly not made by this intellectual, artistic genius, and they'll add these things to it. They'll expand on the themes. They'll overanalyze things and say that you don't. And it's clear what Zack Snyder's actually trying to do in most of those movies. And it's not even that it doesn't have a lot of things going on. It's just he can't handle things that complex. So they just look at what he's attempting to do, which is a form of complexity, which he's failing at, and they just take it as what it is. But really, they're just giving it like layers and important. I feel that way about Last Jedi a lot too. People who defend that movie, they'll like it's just so genius that it's doing these things. And it's like, no, I got what the themes were. I get what Ryan Johnson's saying. It's obvious that when he's having a character say kill the past, I get what he's saying. You don't need to explain it to me. And him saying that doesn't make it genius just because he has a theme. It's like because movies are so lacking in a certain kind of flow and momentum today, or some kind of depth that people cling on to anything that's attempting at it. So their standards are at a point where they'll give a pass to something that's a bad movie just because there was an idea, there was subtext, and subtext alone is intellectual. Subtext alone is complexity. Which your video, yeah, that actually I didn't think about as a Zack Snyder thing, but that's the issue with the Zack Snyder and why I give them such a hard time compared to other people. I don't have an issue if you like Zack Snyder films or if you like those movies. My issue is when you try to act like they're high forms of art or these masterpieces and everyone else is just, a hater or like, the fun insult today, boomer.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
I was called a boomer recently.
Yeah, I was
before
called
the
a
OK Boomer meme started.
Yeah, I was called a. Yeah, I'm glad that OK Boomers finally started because I've been making fun of boomer being an insult for a while. Because I think it's a shitty insult, especially when they try to attack comedy. They talk about like boomer tier comedy, even though most of my favorite movies and TV shows are from boomers. Like
Dude, I make a video about how Terminator Dark Fate is just rehashing 1 and 2 beat for beat, and I got so many comments of people like, "Oh man, you got to stop fucking living in the past. Like, can't you just like new stuff?" And like the irony that they're saying that to me, saying what I said over a movie that all it does is live in the past. That's the breed of audience we have these days.
Yeah, this boomer thing, it's like, what does that even mean? It's like, well, boomer, I think, like, what, do you not like music from that era? Like, is Led Zeppelin not good anymore? Or is, like, Monty Python, they were boomers. I get confused about exactly how it's I mean, I get what it means in an economic sense, or being out of touch with the internet is what they're insulting, that you're not relevant, you don't get meme culture, you don't get the internet. But it's a lame like ageism attack that I think it's sort of like how Cuck lost a lot of its power after a few years. Now that I'm hearing, like, I'm starting to see all the time now people saying boomer now in videos that wouldn't have said it 3 or 4 years ago. Now it's the OK Boomer thing, which is fucking ridiculous. So let's get back to your channel real quick. So you've been doing the live streams, hanging with chords. How's that been going? I've had a connection with my audience for a long time, the last few years, and a lot of people have been on this channel a long time. We're kind of like a little small group that's stuck together through it all. So what's your relationship dynamic with your audience? What do you feel is it a passionate audience? Do they give you shit? Do you feel a camaraderie with them at all? Do they inspire anything that you do?
Yeah, I think I definitely have a stronger fan base right now than I did probably 6 months ago. Because it's like, you have a few people that would stick by and be like, "Oh, I love your videos, man. I've been here since Alien Covenant," but more recently, I think I definitely started building a certain type of fan base after post Nun review. And the amount of goddamn comments people keep commenting, "Oh my god, boys, it's the Nun," in every video I upload in the comment sections, like automatically. And it's like, man, I don't say this word like every sentence every single day of my life. Like, I don't remember it until people comment it.
Yeah, repeating yourself or something, making the same kind of point.
But I guess it's the curse of, like, you made something that was successful, and I did go on to make T-shirts of it.
Yeah,
but that being said,
you
I don't care for it when it's
celebration. You did the 1 year anniversary too, right?
Yeah, the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I started doing the live streams because, like, the way my reviews work is, it's not like I hit record on the microphone and then have a rant and whatever comes out. It's like I write my reviews in script form first, but I write in like it's like being a comedian where you have to hit the marks. So I like write the way I structure jokes, but I also write in. Yeah, but I'll write in things like a whole sentence in capitals, so I know that I have to scream this. I'm not like, if I sound frustrated in a video, it's because I'm performing the frustration. But the reason I want to do live streaming, because like I just want to start engaging with the audience without having to, like I can just be myself, more like myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. That's the thing with the live streams is they're not that successful. And I think my YouTube analytics shows me like 15 people unsubscribe every time I do one, but they're really fun.
They are. I know. No, I have to fight not doing them all the time. I used to do them all the time. It used to be reacting to videos or just talking. Because, if you get a chat and it's busy and you're talking, it's like hanging out with a bunch of people and it's like a party at your house and you're like, everybody wants to talk to you. And they ask you all these
Yeah.
questions. And if you don't have a crazy chat with like 3,000 people in it, you can actually have conversations. And you get to see the kind of community build on your chat. I would disagree with you though that your live streams aren't successful. I think for the length of them and the size of your channel, I think the views that you get on those live streams are actually pretty good. I don't think those, in context that some of them are 2.5 hours, or the commentary track.
But I wouldn't go off the views. I'd go more off the likes because people can click on the video and then they can only get like 2 minutes in and go, oh, this is fucking boring.
That's true. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying. So yeah, but yeah, they are fun. Yeah, it's like you get to be the radio DJ, like you always wanted to be. It's one of those like fantasies you get to live out. Like, well, I can be a radio host. I can do talk radio. Like even us doing this right now, like it's cool that you can, So what's the future of the channel? Do you have a structure or plan, or are you kind of just going with the flow of things and seeing what happens? Do you kind of have like a plan for the next? What's CorderyFX 2020 look like?
Well, it's definitely looking like it's gonna be jam packed with videos I want to make. But that's the issue. When you make videos you want to make and they're not hits, but then you make something because you know it's trendy and it will be a hit, but it kills you, like your soul inside a bit.
Jesus Christ, you're hitting. It's so true.
I'm like going into 2020 with the same point of view I have right now.
I've been fighting that for like 3 years. Like it's a big thing on my channel where I feel like a fucking idiot sometimes because I always go against the what's popular. I never review the big, like when I did, everybody else like was reviewing all these big movies that come out, like Godzilla come out, and I reviewed Rocket Man. And Rocket Man had already been out for 2 weeks.
Which I have to take my hat off to you for doing that, because Rocket Man is still one of my favorite movies of the year. But I was like, I guess I'll go review Godzilla because it's big and trendy. Fucking big mistake that was.
Yeah, because and I liked your Godzilla video, but that was the thing. Everybody asked me why you do, and one comment really I loved. It said, Godzilla is all everyone's talking about, and you do a goddamn Rocket Man review. Please stay this way, Pat. This is what you do. Because I loved that movie. It was such a surprise how good it was, and the kind of movie it was. I didn't expect, it to be as funny and emotional as it was, or to be into, Rob Stark's character as much as I was. I was like, oh, fuck, he needs to play James Bond now. This is fucking amazing. Him as that agent. I was like, there's that scene where he's getting the blowjob when Elton John comes out. I wasn't expecting the movie to have stuff in it like that. Where I was like, oh, this is my shit. I can I can laugh at this. And that video only has like 800 views. And I probably could have got more views, but I've always. And people think I do a bandwagon thing, like when I did the Game of Thrones reviews, but that was literally just out of being so pissed off about how bad Game of Thrones was getting. I did, when I uploaded that, the long night video, I didn't know that was going to get 200,000 views. That was one of those ones where I didn't write a script for it. I just ranted, and then I get up the next day and it's like, it has 25,000 views overnight. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm thinking like, do I need to call off work? That's all I thought about at work the whole day. I kept getting on my phone and checking, and then I did.
Isn't that such a good day when you got a hit and you just check your phone all day?
Well, yes.
Like, I'm going to leave I'm going to leave the house and just let the phone keep going. Ding, ding, ding.
And then I was like, well, I guess I better ride this trend. I uploaded that review the next day. So I was like, all right, next Monday, I'll do the next episode. And little did I know, it was one of those lucky things that the show was going to get worse. That it wasn't like that was a bad episode. The next episode did horrible. It was The Last of the Starks, and that review got 90,000 views. Then The Bells happened, which is like the biggest disaster in television history. And that got 100,000 views. And then this is the funny thing. This is the whole thing we've been talking about here, how YouTube works. And then I did the finale, and it did well. It got like 60,000 views. And then I was working on my Game of Thrones Part 1 and Part 2 review, which were scripted. They were each video was like 30, 40 minutes. I had Terrible Lizard edit them. They're very well edited. They're very funny. I have music montages. There's the whole soap opera part in Part 2. There's a lot to it. He spent a lot of hours working on those videos, by the way. But I
Yeah.
uploaded those, and they have like 10,000 views each. They're not nearly as popular as those other ones. And I think to myself, if this kind of editing and the way I structured this, if this would have been the one that got 100,000 views, my channel would be so much bigger right now, because those other videos weren't as good as these. So a lot of people probably watched them, but they didn't really stick around. Where if they would have saw these videos, they would have saw what the channel could be, and it was like this wave of like disappointment for me, because I thought, I was like, okay, well, I have this Game of Thrones audience, they're gonna watch this, so I would need to put a lot of effort in. And then I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck do I do now? Do I review Watchmen? Is this my job? Am I a TV reviewer? Do people want to watch me review episodes weekly? Is that like an audience that I'm ignoring? Um, and then transitioning from box office ad to Please Rewind Live. So I'm just curious. Do you remember when you first? I don't remember the first time we talked. Do you remember the first time you were aware of my existence or us talking? I don't know your side of it. I know when I first found your alien video, and I don't remember the origins the other way. Do you remember when we first started talking? Because it's been like 2.5 years or something. We've known each
Yeah,
other.
I think I discovered your alien video, but then I started backtracking a few of your other stuff, and I was like, man, this guy's like great. He's just like me. We agree on like the same things, and it's like crazy. And then one day I was like, I'll go follow him on Twitter, and I think the second I hit follow, you like hit follow back like probably 10 minutes later. And I was like, and knowing when you both follow each other on Twitter, you can then message each other. And I just sent you a message going, hey, man, love your videos. Buddy, keep it up. Stuff like that. And you're like, hey, I loved your Alien Covenant video. I'm like, so you know about me already. Fuck.
Well, that was
And
the
then it's
thing.
kind
That's
of just
why I
gone on from
followed.
there.
That's why I followed you back so quickly, because I was a fan of that video, and I remember I was with a friend, and I was like, dude, there's the guy that made that fucking video followed me on Twitter. Like, I was excited because I was such a fan of that video, and because I remember with my video, the big thing was I had those Michael Fassbender puns. That was the only thing I wrote for that video, is I had like 6 variations of his name.
Hmm.
My favorite one was Michael Ass Clencher, which I still think about all the time. But I remember, yeah, I found your video, and then it was sort of like we were both sort of like, I think because I don't remember. I think when like Last Jedi came out, my channel was doing really well, and we were talking, and it was I'm trying to remember, because it's just been so long. But it's funny. Today was the first day we ever actually talked, like
Yeah.
like this. That wasn't through DMs or something like that, or comments, or you would be on the chat sometimes. And I'm just so, I got to tell you, man, it's rare in life that you get to be part of, I don't know, part of something, or see something happen. Like, life is, they say it's hills and valleys, it ebbs and flows. Life is a series of problems that you solve, and then those problems you solve create new problems that you have to solve, and you're just constantly being challenged to solve problems. And it's rare in life to get with to have things happen, like the beauty of the internet, or appreciate what it is. If YouTube didn't exist, the internet didn't exist, we would never have met. We would never have some kind of dynamic. And I gotta say, I'm just, for being a fan of yours, not just a guy who like talking to you, or like that one video, being a fan of all of your content, thinking it's good. It makes me so happy that you've had this success, and it even like validates me in a way that that I had taste in seeing you and all that stuff. If that makes any sense. Being
Yeah.
like, people didn't appreciate this guy's channel, and I think everyone's finally starting. You're like an indie band that I was into, and now everyone's telling me to listen to it. Even though I was there on the EP.
Right.
Yeah, ebbs and flows, and I Two guys jerking each other off. No, I just have a. Here's the thing. I've never got to talk to him, so I just never got to tell him like how happy I am that it's all worked out for him like this. I mean, it's really like, it's great that somebody I was a fan of and I was friends with. I'm glad it wasn't some like asshole that I hated or something like that. You know, it's like a positive YouTube story. You know, like
Yeah. Oh, cheers for the kind words. But it's so weird for me because like when I was starting to get big, I discovered like you and there's a whole bunch of other YouTubers that I was fans of, and I was like, oh boy, I can't wait until my channel's successful enough that I could maybe meet these people and I can collaborate with them in the future. And all of a sudden, I make that Nun review, and I skyrocket past all of my inspirations. I'm like, oh shit, I don't deserve this.
I would say you deserve your success. I just to say everyone else probably is still in that spot where they just haven't had that big video yet. It's not. I don't think.
Yeah.
You know, I think you deserve everything you've got, and I just think. Yeah, my channel's weird like that, man. Like I you know, like how JonTron subscribed to me, and like a lot of these big YouTubers have talked to me and contacted me. But there's sometimes you find out how niche you really are, that you don't have this mainstream appeal that maybe you'd want to have. Where I think you have a mainstream appeal to you. That I'm glad that's finally. I'm not going to deny you have an advantage of having an accent, which increases your IQ points by 30. And people like listening to it.
Yeah, suck shit, cunt. I'm a fucking winner.
Yeah, no, exactly. You want to get out of here? Talk to me. I mean, it's like, you son of a bitch. How dare you sound like that? It pisses me off when I first watch it. I'm like, God damn it. He's got the voice. There it is. You know, it's funny. It shows you how ignorant people are in like America or other countries. Because, you know, your voice is just a voice that would probably be common where you're from, but people hear it and they're like, wow. That doesn't sound like anyone I know.
When I went to America, I was an instant celebrity. Just the second I opened my mouth, they're like, "Where you from, man?" I'm like, "Oh, Australia." And they're like, "Australia? Shit, how long did it take you to get here?" And they're like, "Oh, 25-hour flight." Like, "Oh my god!" Then you're like, "Yeah, I'm a filmmaker." Like, "Wow."
Oh my yeah. So, you people make
like, I
movies?
couldn't be any.
Wow.
I couldn't be any more fascinating.
Do you have kangaroos?
Yeah.
I hear kangaroos are like deer there, and you hit them with your car.
Oh yeah, if you drive out in the country, but unfortunately, I live in a city that looks more like America.
Do you ever think about leaving Australia? If like the opportunity came to go somewhere to make more money, like let's say if you could live in California, you know.
I wouldn't rule it out, but
Or do you like being there?
Yeah, it's like I like being Australian just because I spent my whole life not getting to see my way of life in anything ever, except for Australian movies that I've seen that like the rest of the world hasn't seen. But I don't know, like travel. I've been to Thailand and America, and it's like yeah, I'd like to go over there more, or other countries.
Yeah, I often think if I could somehow like live in Japan or Paris or something, I would. You know, I would just fucking leave everything behind. Tell me, let's talk about Aussie cinema. I remember years ago I was corrected by someone when I said Aussie, and they said, "Do you mean Aussie?" And I was like, "No, it's Aussie cinema." Tell me, what are your favorite Australian films, and what do you think of the Australian film industry? Since you know a lot of us have an ignorant perspective. Not knowing, like, what's your television and film industry like, or like an Australian celebrity, somebody who's only famous in Australia, or, you know, what I don't know, like, how many Australian films do you see a year, or do you just see films that are from other countries for the most part? Like, where's the state of the Australian film industry? That's not George Miller.
No, George Miller went to America for Mad Max 2 onwards.
Yeah, he went to America fast. Yeah,
but yeah, we don't really have a film industry. Like I told you before, there's like an offshoot of the government that gives funding to film and the creative arts, and this like you have such a tighter window to if you can get through it, and it always depends on who you know or what your previous work is. So, like, if in America, if you have an idea for a film, you could go to Paramount, and if they don't like it, then you can go to Universal. If they don't like it, then you can go to Blumhouse. If they don't like it, you can go. You have all these studios to pitch your script to, but in Australia, it all goes through the government. And yeah, they have a lot of boxes to tick. Like, it has to be culturally significant, it has to have Aboriginal element in it.
Like
It has to do
China.
something for tourism.
China, everything's through the
Oh
government.
yeah. Well, that's every film in every country's tick box now, is has to tickle China in some way. But Australia, it's so much harder, and that's why so many Australians leave and go straight to America and find success there. I miss Australian Eric Bana. I miss him being in Australian movies, because he's ever since Hulk onwards, it's always been like he's just an American
Are
now.
you talking about like Chopper or something like that?
Yeah, Chopper.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
like
Chopper's one of my favorite.
yeah, Chopper's great. Or like well, there was stuff like like a few like Animal Kingdom did really well.
Yeah, until they got an American remake TV show, which is now in its third season. It's like, well, great. Now no one will ever know about the Australian movie that was his predecessor.
I guess you have like Baz Luhrmann. He did like Strictly Ballroom over there, I think.
Oh, Baz fucking Luhrmann.
I know, but he Muriel's Wedding. Remember that? That was a big movie. What's your favorite Australian movies? Like Walkabout, Mad Max. Like, what's your favorite Australian? What do you think are underrated Australian movies too? Peter Weir, I believe, also started off in Australia.
It's Chopper. Like, it sounds cliche, but Crocodile Dundee is also a fantastic movie to me.
It is,
but not for the reasons.
It is a fantastic movie,
but not for the reasons Americans like it. Like, Australians like it for other reasons.
That makes sense.
Like everyone says the one quote from it, and it's like, man, to an Australian, that movie is just the biggest quote machine, but not for what Americans would want to quote.
Yeah,
it's always the knife line.
Yeah, that's the line everyone always fucking says over here. This is a knife.
But that's the shittest line in the movie.
Yeah,
because he says it so clunkily and awkwardly. Yeah, there's like they're in the pub at the start, and there's like all these kangaroo poachers are there, and they're like giving Mick Dundee shit because he survived a crocodile fight, but he doesn't come across that he did. And they're like, go up to him like, hey Mick, just wondering where there's any spots around where I can go kangaroo hunting. And then Mick turns to him and goes, he's like, I don't know. That's what he said. He goes, how would I know? Shit for brains. And that guy's just like, what? Like, that's one of my favorite lines from that movie.
That's a great screenplay. I think he was even nominated for that screenplay. Like, that's a really underrated screenplay today, because now it's just like, oh, that movie was a big hit when it came out, like 3 Men and a Baby or something like that. But if you actually watch Crocodile Dundee, like you sit down and watch it, it's a film that's got like, you got the fish out of water story, you got a classic Hollywood romance, which feels very real because it was, and you got a movie that's like filled with these great dialogue and very witty stuff like that people forget about now. Like, you totally see, it's like one of those mainstream movies that isn't a piece of commercialism or something like that. Like, there's actually something to Crocodile Dundee as a movie that's very, unique. But what do you think are some films that maybe Americans wouldn't know about that you think are just like, this is a fucking amazing movie? Why is it this more popular outside of Australia?
Well, I don't think I have to say The Rover anymore, because weirdly that's become
it's
pretty
in the
worldwide
chat right now.
Somebody
just brought up The Rover in the chat.
Yeah. Well, the director of Animal Kingdom went on to make The Rover, and I was just like, oh my god, this is a director to watch. David Michaud. I'm praying that America doesn't make a Rover TV show remake. So hard to think. Like, Wolf Creek is one of my favorite, not just horror films, but favorite Australian films. And I love the sequel just as much. I don't know. There's just the only Australian films I can praise are like just weird ones from my childhood, because they're the only ones that come to mind, because there's just been nothing memorable in the last 10 years. There's been a movie called Wormwood, Road of the Dead, which is essentially Dawn of the Dead meets Mad Max, where that film's gimmick is they put zombies in blenders and that can fuel their cars. So they have like all these crazy looking cars with the cages on the back, and like zombies plugged into the engine. And they just made a follow-up film called Necrotronic, and that's like Ghostbusters meets Doom. And we actually saw that in the cinema, which was lucky because it was showing in every state on one night, and then it went straight to Blu-ray. So it didn't even get a cinema actual theatrical release, which sucked.
Are you a fan of? Because my couple favorite my Australian movies, because in the '70s, Australia had this great film boom. Where there's many classics, and Mad Max is at the end of that decade. But Nick Rogue's Walkabout is a movie that I adore, and Peter Weir's Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is another film that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of like royalty to film buffs for Australian films. So it's like this Canadian film called My Uncle Andre. Like, you know, it's like this is what can come out of Australia. But there was this big scene, but it does feel like, yeah, maybe like the last 10, 15 years, Australia's really hasn't had any impact on world cinema that I can think of. I can't think of a big Australian movie in a long time. I can think of Australian filmmakers or actors who can't, like a Jai Courtney or something. Like, I can think of people who came over here and got a career.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jai Courtney.
Yeah, Jai Courtney became a guy, like, you know, and then of course there's like Hugh Jackman and Chris Hemsworth and that. But yeah, Jai Courtney somehow became a thing. Do you think there's a way to fix this problem with Australian cinema? Do you think you guys need like more immigration to the country, or more than that, but a continent? But do you guys think you need more people, more industry, more infrastructure? Like, why do you think that's being held back? Like, because like you have New Zealand, you know, Peter Jackson, that turns into a thing, and they shoot all these movies in New Zealand. Yeah, so like do you think there's a way that Australia can like come back on the map as a filmmaking? Because it was in the '70s. I mean, this isn't bullshit. Yeah. In the '70s, Australia was a major international market. Like,
well, the '70s was such a great time because Tarantino's in that. Have you seen that the documentary Not Quite Hollywood? Mm-hmm. Where Tarantino says, like, when I was a kid, they would just show Australian films at like the Grindhouse, but they wouldn't say they're Australian. They would just say the movie title, so you don't even know you're walking into an Australian movie until the first 10 minutes where someone opens their mouth. But nowadays, like, I just Googled Australian films just to, like, because I'm like, I should be saying more examples of recent memory, but it's like, I'm not even seeing variety. Like, they say the Babadook is like the one that's the most recent. That's 2014. Yeah, Babadook's a brilliant movie, but there's Snowtown.
I saw a lot of Peter Jackson in Babadook. That's what I thought. It reminded me of his like early movies. Like, and it's this very specific thing to that like part of the world. Like some of the camera work and the mix of humor and imagery is very distinct to that. Like, it made me think of like, maybe not. I mean, it did have a Heavenly Creatures like aspect to it, the Babadook, but it really reminded me of like the camera work stuff. I was like, this feels like some Peter Jackson movie. Like something he would have made if he was still making like low budget horror movies. But yeah, that was years ago. I can't think of a recent one that's blown up. I'm just wondering if you think like it's like dead in the water. Do you think there'll be an Australia renaissance? You know, that would just happen with some other countries. Like, nobody knew South Korea was going to turn into like South Korea became like the shit in the 2000s. And we got all these great filmmakers from South Korea.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to toot the horn of the film we just made, Lieutenant Jangles, but what me and the rest of my filmmaker friends feel is like Australia needs to start making more fun movies like Jangles, ones that, like, they don't need messages, they don't need cultural importance, they just need to be entertaining. And if we started making more movies like that, then that will start generating more money, and then we can actually branch out and make proper artsy films, because unfortunately that's all, like, all Australia makes is it's like three categories: the quirky suburban comedy, the Aboriginal stolen generation type movie, which is essentially saying, like, imagine if Hollywood had a restriction that all their movies had to have a Native American element as an apology. Like that's how restricting it is in this country, where there isn't that much funding for film, but in America, like that wouldn't even be a problem. And the third genre is horror movies, and like that's all you get. Like
Uh,
we don't have an expansive genre category in this country at the moment.
so what you're saying is like you guys need to. I get what you're saying. It's like you need those like genre international, like the way Mad Max went on to make 100 million. You need some film that will like put it back on the map, and then filmmakers can actually start to like make these personal films, and then the industry can kind of come back again because it's such a beautiful place to shoot. Like every nature show or travel show, they film 90% of that shit in Australia. Like it's
Hmm.
like I've seen 1,000 fucking shows in Australia, but it's like, and I know they shoot movies there too, but it's like actually Australian films, the Australian accent in cinema, doesn't seem there because there was this Australian fetishism in the '80s when Crocodile Dundee came out. That was the same thing with Japan when Ridley Scott made Blade Runner and Black Rain. There was this love for
Hmm.
Australian culture in the '80s, and I feel like that's died down considerably over the last like 20 years. In at least the States. I don't know about the rest of the world. But I could say here people don't that used to be a thing. Everybody would do like the Australian accent, or they would wear the hat or they would make jokes and stuff like that. Or people were like, I was always obsessed with kangaroos. Because over here it's like a novelty to us. You go to a zoo to see a kangaroo. It's like a kangazoo, and one time I went to the zoo here, which is a very famous zoo. There's Jack Hanna, who's always on David Letterman. It was his zoo here in Columbus, Ohio. And they,
Hmm.
I'm always a little scared around kangaroos because I've seen the videos where like they attack people, or they like. There's that famous video where the kangaroo has the dog in the headlock and the guy punches the kangaroo in the face. But we went to a kangaroo exhibit, and normally when you go to a kangaroo exhibit at a zoo, they have you very far away from the kangaroos, and they like have these like fences up. At this place, they had just the kangaroos right there, and the only thing blocking you from them was a rope that was very low that they could easily get over. And it was like
Hmm.
100 kangaroos, and there was a guy there in a wheelchair that had a thing for you to pet to feel like what their fur felt like. And I thought, if one of these kangaroos wants to attack me, I don't feel very confident that this guy in the wheelchair is going to be able to protect me. I was skeptical that he was the guy that was going to jump in and save the day if these kangaroos turn on me. So it was a very scary situation. Uh, but I wonder if that's sometimes too, if that's why people don't do stuff in Australia. I don't know if it's a climate thing or I don't know what it is. It's like there's this it's like people love the idea of Australia, but people don't want to actually appreciate the people and the places and what it actually is, I guess. I feel like it's looked at in a very shallow way sometimes.
No,
Um,
especially the way it's represented in like every media. Like we'll cut to
yeah.
a helicopter shot flying over the desert, and a didgeridoo will start playing. It's like, man, that's not the whole country. That's probably mostly the middle and the hot zone.
So this movie you're done in post production. You're working on a short film now, right?
Ah, but that's a secret.
But you are working on one, right? Okay, my bad. I didn't know it was a secret. I just thought you were oh, my bad. Okay, he's not working on a
Oh,
short film.
it's a secret what it is and what it's for. But yes, I'm currently making a little short
Okay,
action VFX.
you're mainly doing the editing on that, right? The post production.
No, no, I'm doing everything else.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, so you directed and wrote it and everything.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
act
What
in
what
it though,
what?
right?
No.
Okay.
What? Yeah. Well, everyone know once it's released what type of film it is. But no, I just finished another short film a few months ago, and that had its premiere. But all I did was edit that. I had nothing to do with the production.
How do you feel editing other people's stuff, like the instinct of editing? Because editing is such an instinctual thing, and it's a lot of the times it's about feeling. A cut kind of comes from a place of feeling. What's the feeling editing someone else's work as opposed to something that you kind of maybe? I'm assuming you already have a lot of the cuts in your head before you even go into the editing. Where if you have someone else's thing, you're having to play off their rhythms and what footage
Yeah.
they provided for you. And maybe they didn't even know what they wanted. I find most of the time, a good movie or a good thing comes out, the person shooting it knew what they wanted. They didn't just rely on coverage.
Mm.
or trying to make the movie in post production. They actually knew what they were making during filming. What's that experience for you? Do you lose some emotional connection to it? And
Oh,
just
definitely. The short film I just finished that I just edited, I vowed was the last film I'm ever editing for anyone. Because yeah, even like working on Lieutenant Jangles, even though it was co-made by me as well, I wasn't the director. And since I was the director of photography, visual effects supervisor, and editor, like I had my way of editing, but like there was just too much clashing, and then I just don't like because when I edit, yeah, it's a emotional personal thing for me. But the second someone comes in with like a big list of notes and changes, and like they start saying a cut's weird, it's like it's just too draining for me, especially the amount of work that feature film took. But I will edit my own stuff just because I know exactly what I want, and it can be like an adrenaline rush when you film something, you start editing it, and it's like you're getting very creative with where it's going. So yeah, I'm only going to edit for me. And that's why the YouTube channel is great because like these reviews, I'll spend 3 days the most intense edit ever. Like no barely any sleep, not doing anything else during the day. The second it's uploaded, I never watch it again.
you know it too well because you did it so much. Like I had that with making movies where by the time there's a if you ever see the Magnolia DVD that they released in the 2000s, there's a great documentary on there that's like an hour and a half long that follows Paul Thomas Anderson coked out of his fucking head during the making of Magnolia. It's he's like just shaking and very, he's very, when he made that and Boogie Nights he was on cocaine, but Magnolia in particular, he wrote the screenplay in 2 weeks for a 3-hour movie just to get to the crowds. There's a part that sums it up better. It might be my favorite movie on any special feature on a DVD. They go to see the premiere of Magnolia, and he's in a limo at the end with Philip Seymour Hoffman, riding off in a limo, and they're talking about it. And PTA is like, I'm so detached from it. I'm so far away from it. He's like, I don't. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman's like, yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it too. And then Paul Thomas Anderson said it's like having the girlfriend. And then he looks out the window and says something, and Philip Seymour Hoffman says, wait, no, go back to that point. Finish that sentence. And he says, it's like she's not there for you. And that's how I feel. You get to know this thing so intimately, this child that you had, this thing that's an extension of who you are as a person, and you spend months on it, and you know every scene, and you wrote it, and it came from you. It's some kind of abstract thing that turns into some finite thing. It's like molding. It's like clay. You start to morph it into something, and it becomes more clear to you, the image, as time goes on. And you get to a point where you've been in the trenches so goddamn long filming it or working on the video, let's say, and you just want it to be fucking over. Like, you've been doing this, like you said, you go on fucking long, even though it's fulfilling, you're like, Jesus Christ, it's like getting to, like, reading a long book, and it's like, am I halfway through? And then when the time you actually show it to people and it's out there, you're so familiar with every goddamn thing about it that it does detach itself from you, and you're just getting what other people take from it. It's like that personal connection you had with it is distant now, and it's like, yeah, it's like that girlfriend that isn't there for you. Like, you love it so much, but the art never loves you back the same way that you love it. And it's kind of the irony is that you put everything into it, and then it's never that thing that you want it to be, and then you move on to the next project, and you're hoping that, because perfection doesn't exist, and the flaws that you have as a person usually show up in your work, even if you try to fight them. But it does give you a high for a little while, and then the high goes away, and then you have to try to find that high again. Are you in any way scared of peaking or aging out of what you're doing, or I don't know, getting to a place where you're getting to do a form of the thing that you wanted to do, but not really the thing that you want to do, and almost that you had to compromise your dream for what was successful, even though this other thing is really, when you're doing it, you feel like you're the best version of yourself? Like, because I get fucking all the time with the aging, even though I'm not that old, but I'm gonna turn 30 here in like 3 months, and it's just fucking with me, like am I ever gonna actually get to that place I want to be at? Where I'm on the set like I want to be and I have the crew like I want.
Hmm.
Or am I just destined to keep going through these series of events that are sort of like what I want to do? How do you deal with that? The emotional journey of being an artist, and the because it's never finished, I guess, because as you change,
Um,
the art changes.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not really like I know I'm creative, but I feel like I'm too technical to be an artist. These all these videos I make for YouTube. It's not really. It's like I don't go into them with, oh, this is going to be a creative expression of my point of view, and the world will hear it. It's kind of just like, well, Terminator's bombing, so I better make a video talking about how much I fucking hated it. I'm like, shit. I was making a 10-minute video. Just I don't want to waste too much time on this, but then it turns out to be a 21-minute video, and it's just like, oh, all right, more time for more editing, but I got to get this done ASAP. Like that's kind of how my process works. I don't really get to. I'm too busy to stop and be like, will I peak? Because it's like I can't wait for the peak to be over yet because I'm sick of climbing towards it.
Well, it's just I just got Disney Plus recently, and there's that movie Free Solo on there, which I never fucking watched. And I really wanted to see the movie because I was into rock climbing and I saw the guy in interviews and all that. And I was like, oh, I bet this movie's great. And really, I wasn't that into the movie. I'm not even going to lie. Like, fell asleep. Like, an hour of the movie is just them talking about him going to climb this thing, a free solo.
Mm.
And him basically, like, getting hurt or not doing it or convincing himself not to do it. And that's like an hour and 20 minutes of this movie. And this dude's, like, dead inside. Like, he's very emotionless. He's like, they compare him to Spock. And the whole movie, I was just waiting. I'm like, and then I got up today and I was like, I want to watch the last 25 minutes of this movie. And the last 20 minutes, he does climb it. He does do the free solo. And it was sort of like, you could tell that that's where he felt the most alive. Like he was trying to find some kind of respite to this hole inside of him, and this was doing it for him in danger. But it was almost like he had planned it all out. Like it all worked so smoothly. I almost had this like, I don't know. I had this fucked up thing, like, because afterwards he was sort of acting like it wasn't enough, like there was that next thing he had to climb, to touch God, if you will, and that was kind of messing with me the last couple days. It's like, man, even if you reach that, like, let's say you get the Oscar, or you get that, like, I have 10 million subscribers, and every video I upload gets 2 million views, and I get to live the life I want, I always wonder, like, if it's not gonna... I think it would make your life have less stress, but I also feel like it never ends the stress. I mean, I guess I'm just talking about the human condition, but I'm trying to compare it to being a YouTuber, because that's what we're speaking on. That's, that's the specificity. Do you think about yourself, like, if you were in your 40s and you were still, like, doing professional YouTube videos, do you think about that? Like, where the fuck is this going?
Well, yeah, it's like I don't know. I've always had bigger aspirations than YouTube, like because like it's still relatively new to me. For the past like 10 years, I've been in filmmaker mode, and I only started reviewing movies because I was like dying of depression and exhaustion while in post production for Jangles. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna start doing this like a little thing on the side just to like massage my brain so I can like make a little product and get that out, and it, while I go back to this long-term project. But then it sort of turned into its own business model entity, where I was like, all right, so if I start playing the market, if I start editing what certain a little audience is now expecting, then maybe I can make something bigger out of this. But in terms of peaking, I think my Nun video has been my peak. Even though the channel's climbing, I still just don't get the Nun numbers. So it's kind of like, even this new Terminator Dark Fate video I made had a big boom at the start. It's like didn't reach anywhere near the Nun video success, but it's kind of just dropped down straight away in terms of its like revenue and success. So it's kind of like, it's just more of a stressful grind than a, like, I don't know, this film I'm currently working on for the YouTube channel is kind of like the first stepping stone to change everything, to move into different directions. Because like I don't know about YouTube forever, but I don't want to be a movie reviewer forever. But I still like working on discussion videos about film because it's like, films for the most part, like, is my life. It's like it's the only thing that's in my brain at all times. So that's why I like the new Terminator video I just made was fun. The Timelines one, where I get to talk about films that I am passionate about and like am more invested in than just going, well, this new movie sucks, so I better make a video on it. So I think, yeah, the goal is to get out of reviewing current movies and just sticking to like more what you do, where it's just I talk about the films that I am passionate about. So that'll probably be more of the future of my channel.
You don't want to say something unless you have something to say.
Yeah.
I relate to that deeply, and I think it's been a detriment to me. But I think at the end of the day, though, my argument's always been with people because I get this flack a lot, and I know a lot of this live stream has been a lot of like grandizing to like, let me jerk off Cordery or like talk about herself. But that's what I wanted this to be. The whole idea of this stream was I actually wanted to, go into the mind of what it's like to be a YouTuber, to be like to not be one of the big YouTubers, because I feel like the big YouTubers, they get to a point where they're so far away from it that when they talk about YouTube, they're talking about something else entirely. Where they're living like H3 or so, where he's living in a mansion. It's like that's a different life. Like anything else. But I wanted this to be about the melancholy and the ups and downs of making YouTube videos because. Yeah, I always get that. Like, well, if you did this more, I always get what people call constructive criticism, which I just think is you subjectively think that's constructive. Why do you assume that's constructive to my life?
Yeah.
How are you so presumptuous to know it's constructive for me? But I try to make videos that are videos that I would want to watch or like I wish existed. So when I make the video, it's a video that I like to rewatch instead of a video I make for audiences. I actually don't make stuff for an audience. I make stuff for myself, and that's been detrimental. But I think there is a middle ground, and I think that YouTube, we're talking about being filmmakers and all that. Recently I had a really good premise and a script I was working on with a friend, and we're like, this could be a movie. This could be something that actually gets like picked up, like distributed. This could go on Netflix. Like it was something where it's like this is a movie. This isn't. We're making this for ourselves. This could be a hit. And we were kind of like, what do we do with this? Because it was a really good. It was basically like having Get Out or something like that in your hands. Like, hey, no one's ever really made a movie like this before, and we have all of it figured out, And then iDubbbz released that Full Force video, which is like this hour-long documentary, and it's like everything that Content Cop and stuff is building up to, and it's like, man, he made this great hour-long documentary on YouTube, and it's got 12 million views, and it's like, I feel like in some ways, it's better to think about the future and not things now. It's like, I don't know how much the traditional Hollywood movie that isn't a superhero franchise or an IP exists. I don't know how much we're going to be stuck in this, even putting the movies on streaming sites. I feel like we're getting to a point where, like, you can make these shorts, you can make these video. It doesn't have to be a movie review. There's some kind of evolution happening with the equipment getting better in digital technology and editing and so on. That you can, if I started to think more that maybe YouTube could be, the cinematic experience. It's just a new kind of cinema. It's like a podcast. People could talk for 4 hours, and people like long content. Like, I could make videos one day that are basically what I do when I make movies, but it's a new kind of thing for you. Just the same way that television changed how things were done, and everything. Is there? I feel like we're in the infancy of a new art form, and nobody understands it yet, and we're all trying to figure it out and what it is, because it's never been defined. And
that's the weirdest thing. Is like YouTube. Like, it's funny how we talk about how it being a job prospect. The film I'm currently shooting, one of the actresses I got in it, I worked with her on a previous film, 48-hour film, and I knew of her through this acting school that we kept hanging out with. But I discovered that she has a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers, which I had no idea about, like, while working with her. And she and her husband run a YouTube channel called Art Spear Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
and they do this thing called Toon Sandwich. If I sent you a clip, you'd probably have seen it before. They do animation like how it should have ended,
Mm-hmm.
where they do like animation like that for like movie trailers, and they've got this new big successful series called Super Villain Bowl and Superhero Bowl, and now they're working on the Superhero and Villain Bowl. But yeah, and it was actually therapeutic while working on this film with her recently, where we got to like talk shop about being a YouTuber and talking about how like our parents still think like, oh, when you go and finally get a real job. And she just made this passing comment where she's like, yeah, I'm still getting that. People like look at me like, YouTube's not a real job. And she's like, yeah, well, this real job just paid for that fucking car out the front. And I was just like, wow, I want to be at that level. And you only get that by pushing forward in the YouTube direction. It's like people can live off of this forever.
Yeah, it didn't go away. There was always this idea that it was going to die off or stop being popular. And it's like Disney in that way, that Disney just became, the monopoly that it is. And it's like it can't be denied. I don't think YouTube can be denied anymore for what it is. Like, it is the new television. Young people today, their celebrities are YouTubers. And it's even weird in my life, like people at my job, I tell them I make YouTube videos, and everyone's like, oh, I have a YouTube channel. And they tell me like, yeah, I have like 25 subs. I make these videos. And then they're like, well, what are your videos? And I'm like, oh, I just review movies and stuff. And then I tell them, I have 15,000 subscribers. And they're like, wait, what? They freak out that you can make money at this or anything. And they're like, you made money off videos? I'm like, yeah, I've made money off videos. And then all of a sudden, everyone where I worked like started watching my videos. And then I went to a party for Halloween. And I walked in there and it was like I was some fucking celebrity just because I had 15,000 subscribers. Yeah. Which I was just laughing at, because there was all these people that had a YouTube channel, because like everyone has one, and they had never had anything. And they were all like, how'd you do it, man? What's the secret? And all. And they don't realize how small that is, like comparatively speaking. I mean, it's still rare, but like, it's not like being a million subscribed channel like you, friend you're talking about. But it was this weird thing where it's like people... Yeah, it's like I tell people I've made movies before and I've done stuff, and I haven't gotten nearly the reception I've gotten from the YouTube thing. But then there is this weird thing where people act like, why would you pursue that? Why would you spend time at, like, they don't get it? That it's like, no, you don't get this. If this does really well, I could get rich. Yeah. Like, you don't understand. One video can make you rich. It's like...
well, why don't you get a real job that pays you a weekly rate then?
Yeah.
I've got too much passion.
Well, there's
creative streak.
Yeah, there's like a gambling thing to it, though. You don't know, like, when those videos blow up and you make that money and all that. Like, people, especially when one's getting a positive reception, like your non-video was very positive reception. So you're getting comments every day where people are telling you how fucking amazing you are, and you're like, what? Because in real life, people don't come up and compliment you all the time.
No.
That's not life, but then you get this is how a lot of these YouTubers get egos. People wonder, how do they become such like assholes? It's like, dude, when you have thousands of people telling you that you're amazing, it makes you think for a little while that, I can't fuck up. I'm a fucking genius. Fuck you guys. But I'll say this on the reverse coin of that. I take the negative comments very personally, and whenever I have a lot of negativity, especially something that I think's true, like a good criticism, like something I agree with on a video, that'll fuck me up really bad, and it makes it like hard to keep going on. What do you do with negativity? I'm sure you've got negative comments like anybody else.
Oh, for sure. Like, when you have a negative opinion on something and you're putting it into a video form, it's to be expected. When I started booming with Alien and everything, it's like fun being like the underdog that's like getting a bit of hype from being edgy. And then when people get negative comments, I used to like argue with people for like many messages after that.
Me too.
And
yeah.
But I've since then gotten so sick of that, where. And also, like, I'm not bragging, but when you're at my level and you get so many comments, like, I used to be the person that would like every comment and reply to as many as possible. Now it's just like I just skim through them just to see what the audience is gauging, then I move on just because there's too much to like sift through. But yeah, sometimes I'll look at the comments and I'll just see one that it like just fucking boils my blood just because of how dumb they are, and they're telling you what you think. But I'm now it's just like I'll get angry at that. I'll think it like won't leave my brain. But the second I'm distracted by something else, I'll like completely forgot what it even said.
Yeah, I get that when yeah, that's when I get mad. I don't get mad if they're directly critical. I don't like when they interpret what you mean. And I can take the criticism that I didn't convey my point well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, because that's part of making movies too, is like if you didn't manipulate the audience right, if you didn't set up that scene good enough that they don't get what's going on, that's your fault. And you could say all day, well, this is what I meant to do, but that doesn't mean anything. It's the execution. So, but I hate when people add this thing like, well, you clearly made this for this, and they're almost never right. Those people, the ones that are
No,
extremely negative, they like they fucking try to break you down psychologically. Like
yeah, like
this
they
is who
know
you
you.
are. Yeah, like this is who you are, and they don't get that part of YouTube is like you're playing a character.
Yeah, exactly.
You're being comedic. You're being absurd. You're being hyperbolic on purpose for entertainment. You know, I'm not. Pat isn't me in my everyday life in most of those videos. You know, I don't act, you know, like you're talking about, I'm very calm here. We're talking, this is who I really am. But like in the videos, I get ranty and crazy. But that's because that's what people like. And that's probably part of myself. But it's not me all the time. But yeah, that's the thing. I'm glad you pointed that out because people will fucking, they'll just interpret every single thing in there, you know, to try to make you sound like some piece of shit.
Like I got a bunch of comments on my recent Terminator video. All these people just saying you are all like accusing me of just repeating what other YouTubers have said about the film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the way that I made that video is I worked my ass off on the Halloween one. I went and saw Terminator Dark Fate just to like get out of the house. But once I saw it, I started writing the review, and I mean, like Australia got it like a week after America, but like I was raging about it to all my housemates that night, and everything I said in that video, I said to them beat for beat. Once I got back from the cinema, I hadn't watched a single review like that. Even the Red Letter Media review wasn't out yet. But it took me a whole week to edit because I wasn't actually planning on making that one because I was going to do a roundtable discussion with my friends, but I had to wait for them to for them to all see it. So I just made that waste of time video in the meantime. But like I was fully distracted by just making that video. I wasn't watching any other opinions or any other videos. And then once it blows up, everyone's like, "Oh, you're just copying and pasting whatever YouTuber says." Like, I haven't fucking seen any other YouTubers review of this yet. And if everyone's saying the same thing, isn't it just unanimous that maybe this movie's shit for the identical reasons
Right.
that everyone's saying?
I get that all the time. I'll do a review, and then Red Letter Media will do a review of the movie that I did, and it's like beat for beat the same review. Like me and
Mm.
Jay make exactly the same points on every movie. It's been this way for like 2 years. Like Jay says exactly everything that I say about a movie when it comes. I mean, it's like ridiculous. Like we have the same exact opinion. And I used to be like, "What the fuck? This is weird." And then you just kind of get like what you said. It's just obvious things that are wrong with that movie, or obvious
Mm.
positives with that movie. So then they think you're just copying other things. It's like, well, it's something I try to do is find an original criticism or an original take, but people act like that's like you're just supposed to pull that stuff out of your ass. You know, like you're supposed to say, you're supposed to like, let's bring up Alien Covenant, right? There's the stupid scene, one of many, but there's the really famous one where, you know, they take the guy in the ship who has an alien in him for no reason. You know, they do very stupid things. She locks the other girl in the room with him. She goes to get a gun. They both slip on the same puddle of blood on the floor. You know, it's one of the like dumbest. I mean, it's maybe the dumbest thing Ridley Scott's ever directed is this 5 minute stretch of the movie. And then somehow the little xenomorph still escapes anyway, despite all of their best efforts. Um, Almost everyone would point that scene out if you were talking about that movie. It's like in It Chapter 2, the scene where Angel in the Morning comes on randomly when he's spitting in Eddie's face. I
Yeah.
heard that brought up in every YouTube review. And when I did my review, I didn't even want to bring it up because I'm like, everyone fucking mentioned it. But it's like, how can you not mention it? It's like, what the fuck? Why is that in there, you know? because you're talking about tone. Um, so do you think? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's gonna be this thing where we're just gonna have to review like Disney movies and like superhero movies? Because I feel that way. Like it's all fucking. It's like either like you have to review Joker, you have to review Venom. Like you like that's what's out. Like it's kind of this weird. Like I'd rather talk about movies like Parasite or when Rocket Man comes out, but it's like you have to talk about the big fucking things that are happening right now.
Yeah.
Like you can't try to
Well, that's
build up some little movie or little show that is like when I review the show Barry, it's because I'm such a big fan. But those videos don't blow up. But like, I'm sure if I was doing videos on Watchmen right now, they'd be doing really well. But I don't want to talk about it.
yeah. Well, I vowed never to do comic book movies ever again, and so like that's just what my subscribers are gonna have to deal with. Just because it's just not. There's just like it doesn't matter what comes out now. It's all the same. We've been through the whole era of superhero films, good and bad. There's nothing that can be peaked. It's just again and again and more. And this Disney Plus is just so, it just looks so bad about how much more content that like. I tried to watch Agents of Shield, and I was very into it, but I haven't watched the last season just because like it was becoming like it's just too much content with the movies. And then as I'm watching, there's like all these other Marvel shows are popping up, like Cloak and Dagger and
The Runaways.
Those. And I was like, oh, and also the Netflix stuff, which was like running thin with Jessica Jones. Oh, Jessica Jones was still good, but Iron Fist and Luke Cage were just kind of like blur,
Boring as fuck. But those both became, and the Defenders was like a huge fucking disappointment.
Oh yeah, fucking my god.
What a disappointment that just killed the whole Netflix like superhero shows for me was when that came out. I was like, oh shit. Like it's like if the first Avengers movie had been fucking awful, it would have just changed the whole MCU. It wouldn't be like, that was their big moment to be like, okay, we did this with the TV shows, now we're bringing them all together. And it's like, huh, I still just kind of like Daredevil show. And that's about it. It's like it was, yeah, like someone just said in the chat, that was a non-event. All right, I guess we've been going a couple hours, so I'll try to wrap this up here in a bit, so we don't talk all night. Although I could, but you've been, I was hoping as we'd go on, you get a little bit more open, we get some insights. So I guess the last thing I want to know is just I don't know, how do you feel about yourself? Like, has this changed you at all? And how you see yourself? Did this like give you some confidence that maybe you didn't have before, or how do you think about yourself now, or something like that? I don't know. Like when like it's definitely your life's different. So
Yeah.
what do you who? I don't know. Who are you? I guess who are you right now? Where are you at right now? Are you doing good? Are you happy? Are you sad?
I don't know. My mindset's constantly like flowing around to different like happiness or paranoia. For like the YouTube life was so fun the first year, and then like the second year is kind of being like, all right, what am I doing on YouTube? Let's kind of like start doing things we like doing, because every time I review a film that I like, or if I review everything, then all of it's not going to be hit. So I need to like start focusing on what I want to do, but what's also a hit. The recent thing has been like, shit, if like I was a filmmaker first, and like all I had to do was wait for my film to be done, and then that can start getting my name out there. But that just took too long, and I'm like, well, I've got this YouTube channel where I fucking trash famous like Hollywood directors and films, and like this will be stuck with me forever. So if I ever wanted a proper career, like probably in America, then I've got this like the whole thing that I can't now get rid of. So if I ever tried to pull the plug on the channel, then there's so many people have all my reviews already downloaded, and they can just back that up. But then again, Hollywood is becoming a shit show. Would I even want a Hollywood career? Like, it's not going to be the Hollywood I wanted to go to. So I don't know. That's kind of like a weird crossroads I'm in, where it's like if I can transition the YouTube channel into filmmaking in the distant future, then I reckon I could get into like a more comfortable living situation where I can I can make videos about movies, but I also can make movies, and the whole same audience will appreciate both. That's kind of like where I want to head to.
Well, my kind of goal where I'm at is like, I hope that the channel someday can fund the movies. Like, that's my dream, is that, I get big enough that, like, like how a lot of YouTubers try to do it, but then they kind of don't pursue it as well as they. But what James Rolfe ultimately did, like, I want to be a point where, I can crowdfund a movie I want to make, and like maybe my audience will put up like $350,000, something like that, and I can go make a movie and still have the, that's like the goal, is to still do that and do it with the same thing. But then it's always like, are you just like is this just the thing? Is it a job? Do you feel is it like a job? Is it changed for you that, it used to be like a passionate hobby, and now does it feel like work more than it did before, or does it feel the same?
Yeah, it definitely feels like work. Like, what the biggest parts I don't like about the making videos is writing it. Like, once I come out of a movie that I was intending to review and I just can't get anything out, then I start to feel like shit because I'm not writing, which means I'm not recording, which means I'm not editing, which means it's not going to be done anytime soon. And I kind of beat myself up over that, and then I'll have to either be like, I'll slap something together out and it'll be late, or I'm just going to announce to my subscribers, like, yeah, not reviewing this because I'm already busy working on another video that was probably planned more ahead of time.
So somebody wants to know in the chat, what are your thoughts on the Charlie's Angels bombing and Elizabeth Banks blaming it on sexism, which we were talking about a little bit briefly? Is this Ghostbusters all over again? Like, why? Because the two Charlie's Angels movies that came out like a decade ago both did really well.
Yeah,
Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore. Those movies made like $250 million, and this movie opened $8 million. So like, I guess, like, one, why do you think Charlie's Angels, this movie in particular, bombed? And then what do you think about Elizabeth Banks falling back on the sexism argument?
Well, I feel like it's kind of unfortunate for Elizabeth Banks because I actually don't mind her.
Me neither.
But there's so many different factors here than just blaming it on sexism. Like I said this in my Terminator reviews, like, it's time for all these old franchises to fucking just die. There's no new way you can rehash like Dracula or Robin Hood or Zorro and it's going to be like a hit, because it's like these have been done so much, no one is demanding them anymore. No one's demanding Charlie's Angels reboot. And on top of that, I haven't seen it, never will, so there's not that much I can comment on the actual film itself. But going off of trailers, it just seems like it just has no hook about it. That's like, oh, I got to go see that. Like if imagine this Charlie's Angels movie where it was Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, and I don't know, the bride from Kill Bill, you would watch the shit out of that movie. but when it's all girls are like, they're in some shopping place. There's clothes and like a fashion store, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this." And they're like, "How about we show you the weapons room?" And they're like, "Oh, like there's no. I'm not interested."
Well, it's funny because I'd bring up just like a few years ago something like Kingsman did really well, and it was R-rated and very raunchy, and so I think there's probably a market for something like Charlie's Angels to work. I think they just went the completely wrong way with what they made it. And I even think a few years ago they tried to do television. They tried to do a television reboot of Charlie's Angels, and it failed. Like 2 or 3 years ago, they tried to bring it back like they did with Hawaii Five-0. So when I just saw the trailers, I just thought like, yeah, this isn't like, well, if you're gonna do this, why not do like R-rated Charlie's Angels? If you're really gonna do something new, like have them swear and have some violence.
I'd do the whole thing like John Wick style, where there's an actual like.
Yeah, they're badasses. Like, they actually kick fucking ass. It's an action movie.
Oh no, not badass, not that terminology, because that's a word I'm kind of fucking sick of.
Yeah,
just because I don't know, I don't know what it means anymore. It's like it's just something you just attach. It's like full stop now.
Yeah.
But like have them all just seem like Fox Force 5s. Have a whole team full of Uma Thurmans from Kill Bill. They're all like master assassins, like all this martial arts training, and like you can like delve in how fucked the action sequences are. Where this is kind of just like like a girls show version of Power Rangers. And it's ironic because it has the Pink Ranger in it from the 2017 movie,
I know.
which
I
I
know it does. Yes.
which I
Uh,
didn't mind.
no, I didn't mind either. I think some there's some Max Landis script elements were left in that. My nemesis Max Landis, who I defeated. Um,
Oh.
yeah, because he doesn't exist anymore, and I still do. He doesn't exist anymore, like the Twilight Zone incident, and Spielberg and Child Landis being in trouble for it. It's a myth.
Right.
Cordery, it was such a pleasure to talk to you. I'm sorry if this was more analytical or formal. Maybe you were hoping this to be more like a comedic fun. Us like earlier we were talking about Harrison Ford sequels, Air Force Two, where there's a new president and Harrison Ford has to come back and be the president again.
And then he goes, "Get off my plane again."
Yeah, and the president's a woman, because it's a new reboot for the times. But I didn't want that to be that.
Melissa McCarthy is the president.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy's the president. Yeah, this could, because that's what a lot of live streams are. But I think there's a lacking market for YouTube live streams being where you can pick someone's brain and talk to them and actually get into other stuff besides just sitting around and making like fuck feminism or like this is stupid jokes or fuck Zack Snyder. I think what we talked about was a lot more interesting than that. So
plus there's always another live stream to do.
That's my thing. Yeah. Now that we've popped the cherry on this bitch. So you would return again to a Please Rewind Live.
Oh, definitely. That's why it's just weird to me that we haven't done this sooner. But it's just like the time zones are just so shit to juggle.
That's what happened, people. We kept trying to do this. Like, we've been planning this for like 2 months. And every time that we got together to do it, it was just like, oh, he messaged me 12 hours ago, or I missed this message because we're so like.
No. A lot of this is your fucking fault because you'll mess me going, "Hey, what's up?" And I'll be like, "Oh, you want to live stream now? Because I'm free." And then you just like run away from your phone for like 5 years. And I'm like, man, it at that moment it could have been the best time. And then you reply like a day later, going, "Oh, I missed your message."
Yeah. I will take some blame for that. I just have to work so much. That's kind of the issue. I'm always like, I should check it more because I do message you, and I guess I'm not patient enough that you don't message back immediately. So I'm like, all right. But
yeah, sometimes I wake up and you'd message me like midway through the night while I was asleep, going, "Hey, what's up?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do it then anyway."
I'm like that guy Facebook stalking a girl, like, "Hey," and then you get "Hey" every day, and the girl never replies, and I still send back "Hey, what's up?"
Send nods.
Yeah, send nods. But no, it was really fun to interview you and hear about that because I was so curious about what happened with you the last like year or so. But hopefully when you come back in a future episode, we can just like talk about whatever's going on then in movies, and we can just like bullshit and have fun. And because we were doing that earlier and it was a lot of fun. But I appreciate you giving me some of your time because I know you're a busy man. I know you got a lot of bitches that you got to go plow, and I know you got a lot of stuff to drink and a lot of drugs to do. And I know you're in your mansion right now, laying in your pool, doing this on your Bluetooth headset, and you have a ranch. I know you got all that going on right now, but
don't forget about the tank I have in the backyard.
Yeah, the tank you have, your 4 Hummers. You have 7 Hummers, one for each day of the week, but you have 4 that you prefer. But yeah, thanks for giving me your time, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll probably have you on rotation or something because I have some other people I want to get on here, like David Stewart and Doomcock and other YouTubers. But thanks for coming on. I hope people enjoyed it. I hope to have you back on in the future. Maybe we can actually plan the next one a little bit and make this more of a regular thing because I'm also a big fan of your live streams. And they're actually kind of awesome. If you're not getting like the reception you want from them, I don't know what that is because I think they're really good. So yeah, Mahler would be nice, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So before Cordery gets too big, I got him early.
So what does that CorderyFX didn't kill himself thing mean? I got a comment on a video like this morning saying, "Hey, Cordery's alive."
Oh, it just means that you probably haven't been making a lot of content, so they think you're dead. That's usually what that means. Have you taken a long time in between making a video? Well, you just made that Terminator video like a week ago, though, right?
Yeah, what the fuck they on about? I give them like goddamn. Go watch the Christmas. I keep saying Christmas because I put Christmas
The
music in it.
Christmas special.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that like it took me the whole month to edit. And like, man, I'm reviewing 3 shitty horror films, and my audience is gonna love this. And it's just like 10,000 views in 2 weeks. And it's like, I'm like exhausted from both of those videos. Meanwhile, I'm trying to make a film at the same time, and that's like mind fucking itself to juggle like actors and crew
All I've done is
shooting
Box
things.
Office Addict and like this live stream the last like 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't done like during October I made a lot of videos, but like November I didn't really make. I think I did the yeah, I don't think I've done anything. I haven't done like an underrated classics or anything like that in forever. I haven't done like a traditional movie. I mean, I'm expecting December to be a big month.
Yeah.
I have a lot of content planned for that for that to come, but yeah, I don't get that either. I think you upload on a pretty consistent. I mean, you did take that long break before the Nun video. I remember there was like a long period that you weren't making a lot of content.
Oh, that's because I was prepping for my America trip.
Yeah, that I remember you telling me about that, and you're like, "Yeah, can you come see this movie?" And I almost drove. I almost came to see your movie. Like I was like, if that had happened this year, I would have been able to do it. When you came before, it was just not. But where my life's at now, because I just moved here, so it was very difficult for me to leave because I wasn't really set up here.
Right.
But I'm set up now, so hopefully we do get to meet in the future, and maybe we can do some kind of collab or something like that, or actually do some kind of review thing together where I'm not just coming in and doing a voice of a shark on a payphone. And we can actually talk about something down the line. We'll review a movie together, something like that. But thank you for coming on, man. There you go. That was Please Rewind Live 3. Cordery is finally on. We finally got out of the way. Hopefully, somebody just asked real quick in the chat, what's your best video? Didn't you already say you think it's that Halloween special one you just made?
Yeah, go watch the Halloween video 500 times.
Yeah, go click on that a lot so it can get more views because it deserves it. It deserves much more than 10,000 views. Cordy, do you have any last thing to say before we end this bitch?
No. Just like, yeah, start getting more guests on and make this thing a thing.
Yeah, I do think this could be a good show. I do feel like there's something here. I don't know. I'm hoping this turns into. I think Box Office Addict was good. I hope this to me is like Box Office Addict without the box office.
Yeah.
I'd like to have more guests. I think like 4 or 5 people talking on this could be a lot of fun too.
Yeah, so everyone can hear the delay and talk over each other.
Yeah, that's the no. When you get in a live stream and there's like 6 people, you're like, oh Jesus, it's so hard to get a fucking word in.
Yeah.
Like that happened to me on the High Council where it was like I went in and it was like 6 people talking and I was like, oh Jesus Christ, where do you jump in? And you don't want to interrupt somebody, but you have to step in too, or you're never gonna get. No one's gonna just ask you something.
Yeah.
That's an issue too. But yeah, I hope this turns into a thing. Thanks for supporting it though, and thanks for supporting the channel and being a friend over the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's no worries. That's why I share your stuff a lot because I'm like, man, I want you at my level as well.
Yeah, so we can have bitches. Yeah, that's my thing. Like, yeah, we could just be 2 assholes,
Bitches for everyone.
Yeah, just bitches for me. Yeah, we can share bitches and then trade them off like Pokemon cards.
We can each be our own Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the goal, is to blow the cocaine up the hooker's ass. That's when I know I've made it. Let's see. Somebody said, Cordery, what are your thoughts on Lindsay Flea's Lego movie, The Portal? I don't even know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's a random fucking question. Like, what are your what are your thoughts on this Lego movie, Portal?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. You can open up the questions if you want, and end your live streams with.
Yeah, we could do a Q&A real quick. Hold on, let me. Yeah, everyone ask questions. I'll actually.
Quick, what did Pat not get to? Don't ask me to review Joker, and don't ask where the Godzilla review is. What Godzilla review?
Yeah, what Godzilla review? Yeah, well, you guys have this little quick thing because you better get because I feel like a lot of people are gonna watch this more after the fact because we didn't really get to I didn't get to have this live stream set up for a week in advance so people could get ready for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people just found out about this like an hour ago. So people in retrospect are gonna be like, "Fuck, I want to ask the something." So if you have any questions, it would be a good time to ask now. Crazy Chameleon, you guys are a couple of good fellas. What is the best worst movie you have seen?
I'd love to say this Australian film that me and my friends have seen, but it's not worldwide, so I can't name it because it's not actually available. Dude, I'm literally sitting on the Australian version of The Room. It's this film we found from a local filmmaker, but he pulled the movie and it's like not available. It's like, oh my god, if we leak this, we could be millionaires. Yeah, I don't know. I think Jaws 4 is like my favorite, just because it's not that well praised as a good bad movie. Because I was like, even though it was one of my childhood favorite movies, like I got to grow up and appreciate how terrible it is now, and that's why making that April Fool's video was so special to me. So I'm like, I really, really just wanted to talk about Jaws 4, whether or not I'm pretending to say it's the best movie ever made. So I'd say Jaws 4.
Will Godzilla versus King Kong flop?
Yes.
Okay. Why does Disney Plus have no rating system, not even thumbs up or down?
Because they don't want opinions. They want you to ingest product and move on, please.
Somebody asked you about Miami Connection. Do you know that?
Oh, yeah. The Miami Connection was one of the inspirations for Jangles. We actually featured the poster for that movie in our film twice.
What if Dark Fate was a political thriller where the main characters faced off against shape-shifting Terminators? I don't know.
So it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger as a lawyer going, Mr. T-1000, where were you on the day of the 21st?
Yeah.
And he like shape-shifts into someone else, and he's like, I don't know, I wasn't there.
Somebody asked about your thoughts on The Mandalorian, but I don't think either one of us have watched that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't really plan on it watching. When can we see Jangles? Do you know when people might be able to get it?
Soon. We have the Blu-ray distributor has everything. He has the movie. He has all the special features. He has made the Blu-ray menus. We have finished the sleeve. It's all, and he's sent it to the manufacturer. It's just a matter of time until we get our first run of 1,000 Blu-rays, which will be available on our website. And plus, I'm gonna spam the shit out of it on the channel once it's officially available.
If you get me access to that, I will review that movie on the channel. I would like to watch it and review it. That would be fun.
No offense, but no freebies.
I wasn't asking for a freebie.
Nick, the director, is getting I think he's getting 50 copies sent to him so he can hand out to people that donated and that were involved. But outside of that, it's I think what we were told is once it makes over $4,000, then we officially go on a profit, and then we start making our money, making some money off of it. And it's just we need to start selling fast.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a US distributor, which means once it is available for all of you living in the USA, you'll probably get it very early. Because if our friends and family order it from our website, it'll probably be 3 weeks until it's delivered to them. So if you're in the US, then you got it good.
What are your thoughts on Hideo Kojima? Someone asked.
Who?
Did the Metal Gear Solid games and the Death Stranding game recently.
I haven't.
You don't know him? Okay, that's somebody just asked randomly. Will Pat ever cameo in any of your live streams?
Man, I got to sort out this bullshit problem with my OBS where I have the alerts set up through Streamlabs. So anytime someone subscribes or super chats, an alert pops up, but it's meant to make a sound. But I got audio problems with my OBS where it doesn't play music that's online. And so I don't know if I could get a guest in through the internet and hook it up to my OBS. I just don't know what's going on.
Have you taken
But
it? Have you just downloaded a new version of OBS and just got rid of that version of OBS that you have and done a new one?
no.
That's what I would do. I had to do that one time. I had OBS and it fucked up all the time, and I just deleted it and then downloaded a new version of it, and it worked a lot better. Because OBS, when you have that open source software, sometimes it just fucking doesn't work. Let's see.
Oh, but yeah, I'd get you on in the future. Look, it's as fucking hard as it was organizing this.
Yeah, 2 years from now, guys, I'll be on Hanging with Chords.
Man.
Just you just have to be patient. Best movie.
But even
of
hanging
all-
with chords, I want to.
Sorry, continue.
I was going to say I want to reinvent it, where I'm going to start podcasting that's pre-recorded, and save live streams for like special occasions.
Dude, that's been great with Box Office Addict since I switched over to it being a show and not the live stream. I just get on. It takes like 25 minutes. I get it, and it's like upload it, watch it premiere, and it's great. I've been really enjoying it. What do you think is the best movie of all time? Which isn't necessarily your favorite movie of all time.
Ah, right. I think that's just too complicated a question. Like maybe a top 5 best movies of all time. Then you can start being more fair. But just kind of, I think that's just very opinion based.
Well, what's the first thing that comes in mind? I guess if somebody asked you that question on the spot and was like, "What do you think's the best movie ever made?"
Well, I don't want to say action movies, but it's like Terminator 2 is such a technically well made, well crafted masterpiece outside of the CGI. And this is actually a video that I'm currently developing is Terminator 2 not outside of CGI is one of the greatest visual effects masterpieces of all time because it uses every single visual effects trick in the book except for matte paintings to like do all of the action, and the CGI is so minimum, but like the CGI is focused on one specific thing, and that's why that whole film works. Where every movie nowadays, everything's CGI, and all these visual effects artists didn't have enough time to make everything look 100%. And that's why everything just seems like washy messes now. But I know there's better stories than Terminator 2. But yeah, I can't think off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Let's go with that one.
Will you do an AMA for filmmaking and visual effects?
Well, my live streams are sort of Ask Me Anythings anyway.
Maybe they
AMAs.
titled one that's specifically about that. I guess I don't know. I don't really get the question.
Yeah, I don't know. My live streams are just like sort of what they are. If you ask a question, I'll answer it, but I don't really have themes. Like maybe once I start establishing my channel more for filmmaking, then I can start getting into that realm. Because that's what it started off as. It was going to be my show reel, online show reel is my YouTube channel. Anything I make just goes straight here. But then I started making jangles, which took 3 year commitment out of YouTubing.
Somebody asked your favorite foreign film, which I laugh at because you could say an American film technically, and that would be a foreign film.
Ah, yes, Terminator 2 again.
Yeah, not used to that other side of the Somebody asked me foreign film, I think, but I'm like, oh wait, I guess you could pick a Hollywood movie. That would be a foreign film. Terminator 2 is great. I'm with you. Terminator 2 is an amazing movie, and you could really see the Hong Kong influence it had on James Cameron. There's a lot of John Woo in that movie. Before a lot of that stuff got big in America, in particular with the camera work and the staging of it. And nobody really stages sequences, action scenes like James Cameron. And Spielberg kind of has this too, where it's like, where you really get to see everything that's happening in the choreography of it and the craft. And Terminator 2 is like still looks modern from a cinematography standpoint. Like that film hasn't aged. You don't watch that in like, early 90s movie. Like, seeing that helicopter go under in that underpass, that still looks fucking dynamite. You know, that stuff still looks so good. And, you know, I think about the parking garage sequence, how it starts in the, you know, the mental asylum all the way into the, you know, the elevator, and then they end up in the parking, like the staging of that sequence and all the pieces moving with it. Uh, that stuff's still world class all these years later. In fact, if there's one thing that's really upsetting about James Cameron, I just miss that James Cameron doesn't make like R-rated action horror sci-fi type movies anymore. Like
Mm.
you have Titanic and Avatar over the last like 25 years, and then we didn't get all these other James Cameron movies we could have gotten in the, you know, in the late 90s or early 2000s.
I don't know, man. The way I'm stand on James Cameron is like he gave us these amazing movies that define our childhood, and he can do whatever he wants. Just don't produce things. He can make Avatar if he wants, because that's who he is now, and that's what his program, as well as like diving deep to the bottom of the ocean. That's also James Cameron. He's not just Avatar man at the moment. He's also doing all this other shit that doesn't get publicized. But like, you know, I'd rather he make two great Terminator movies than a shitty third one just to confirm that Terminator's dead forever.
I guess just for me, like I also like love True Lies. You know, this is like he just has so few movies. It's like this upsetting thing for me because I just like fuck. I want more James Cameron movies.
But like, I don't want him to make anything now, just because I know he's not Terminator 2 James Cameron anymore.
I'm going to play some in the chat. I'm not saying that Terminator 2 doesn't feel early 90s in like aesthetic or style, because of course it does. Like John Connor in that movie is pure 90s. I'm just saying, like, from a visual standpoint, that film isn't dated by the time it came out. It still looks very good by today's standards.
Dude, it was the best movie I've ever seen in 3D.
Yeah, I'm not saying that T2 doesn't have things in the movie itself that dates it, because it obviously fucking does. I mean, it's very much like an early 90s movie with like the way the dialogues were. She's not my mom, Todd. You know.
Oh, dude. John Connor is like, that's the great thing about that movie is imagine going from this like horror film with a love element and go like, all right, we're making the biggest blockbuster of all time to date, and we're going to put Bart Simpson in it, and he's going to be hanging around with Brainiac Wolfcastle, and the whole movie worked. Of course, it's dated now because of the stuff he says, but
yeah, I mean that's the only thing about Terminator 2. I kind of like, I love the movie, but yeah, I struggle with some things in it. I struggle with like some of the emotional scenes with John Connor and the Terminator now. I don't have any issue with any Sarah Connor thing. I pretty much have no issues with the Terminators, but it's some of that John Connor stuff does not play as well for me as it did when I was like younger. You know, not all of it either. Like some of it I still think is great, but this other scene's just the hasta la vista baby, all that stuff now. Or the thumbs up at the end when he's going down to the loft. I'm just like, man, I don't know.
Oh man, fuck you! That shit makes me cry to this day.
No, I know people get it
because it was so earned when he gives the thumbs up.
Yeah.
When like Dark Fate, it doesn't matter what Arnold does in that movie; it's already been done, and that's why it's not impactful. But like, they earned that thumbs up just with how much they developed his Terminator character throughout that one movie. That being said, can never do that again. That was the last time Arnold should ever be a good guy, because it'll just be shitty, and it has been ever since.
Well, that was that great era of Arnold where he would give these funny performances. Like that's the time of Total Recall and True Lies and all that, where like he was in movies with T in the title, Twins and all that. But he would I don't know, there was like that stretch there in the early 90s where his charisma was just on full fucking steam, like 100% Arnold. You know, it like developed. I don't think it comes together like the Arnold. I mean, he's amazing in the first Terminator, but like the leading man Arnold that we think of, I don't really think that hits until like Predator Commando, where it's like, fuck. Okay.
Or he learned English a bit better.
Yes, he could exactly. You know, because I'm a fan of Conan the Barbarian and all that stuff. But yeah, when he could actually start to do the dialogue right, and then you realized how funny he was, and his charisma, and then that just plays into the early 90s when you just have like all these classic Schwarzenegger movies.
Well, there's even like Last Action Hero where he's playing himself, but it's not this like over the top parody version. He still knows like how to like tone it down. Used to, I should say. Now it's just there's too much now.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't disagree. Into the Choppa. Let's see. Trying to type with the new keyboard app. Twins was great. It was 80s great. Nobody can get bothered to invest in Terminator when every new entry is going to get retconned by the next film anyway. Yeah, very true. That's very fucking true. Yeah, Last Action Hero is underrated till this day. I do not get why that movie got such bad review. I can get why it bombed because it came out when Jurassic Park came out and got ignored, but I don't know why critics act like that. Like, I watched that movie and I'm just like, this is really clever. It's fun. It's got great action scene. Like, John McTiernan directed it and he wasn't a hack yet, you know? He hadn't gone to prison yet.
Man, that's what it's one of those movies where I still don't know that it was a bomb because when I was a kid, it was just another great Arnie movie.
I know.
I didn't know that till I was an adult.
I know there's a lot of movies like that. You're like, everybody didn't love that movie? What the fuck are you talking about? I watched this on video all the fucking time and everyone I knew liked it.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting me to say that.
Even the thing in that they have the cartoon cat sidekick.
Yeah, voiced by Danny DeVito.
It's fucking genius. Like, the satire is so fucking on point. And just the idea that a kid gets sucked into a movie. But then the clever thing that they bring it into the real world from the movie. They do the opposite at the end. Which is so, like, earned and, Yeah, I don't get why anyone would shit on that movie. That movie's really good. And it's a fucking Shane Black wrote on that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's a class.
Yeah, the dialogue's great and the action is, like, on par with every other action movie.
I know.
Like, that does not feel cheap. Like a scary movie. Another type of parody movie.
Remember when John McTiernan remade Rollerball? Yes, I do. With LL Cool J and the kid from American Pie.
Man, more movies need LL Cool J.
Yeah, no, I love him in Deep Blue Sea. You Killed My Bird.
Man, last year before Halloween came out, me and my friends watched Halloween H2O, and like he's in that too. Is like essentially the same fucking character.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, we should do a thing like what other movies from the early 2000s that came out that bombed that would have benefited from having LL Cool J in them. I thought that would be a funny idea to like start researching. Like, well, if LL Cool J was in, I don't know, Deep Blue, no.
Yeah, he was in Deep Blue Sea. He was a chef.
No, not Deep Blue Sea. The Jessica Alba swimming one.
Oh yeah, fuck. Into the Blue.
Into the Blue.
Yes.
So something like that where.
He's really likable in Halloween H2O. Actually, though, he's like one of the best parts of that movie. Is him?
Yeah, he's like he's like Will Smith to me. Where that's not a black joke. But he's like his presence doesn't suck me out because it's like celebrity status. It's just like I like watching. He's fine, but he's not a draw card. Like it's fine if he's there.
Do you think the Highlander franchise deserved better?
I haven't seen them.
Oh, you never seen Highlander, dude? The first one? Oh, you got to get on that shit, dude. You'd love Highlander. It's so CorderyFX. Like, just your channel and, like, the aesthetics of your channel and the attitude of your channel is so that fucking movie. Like, the Queen soundtrack to that movie and the font and everything. Just the opening to that movie. He's setting at a wrestling match, like a WWE wrestling match. And he's just sitting there in a crowd of people, and they do this zoom on him while the wrestling's going on, and you just see him sitting there alone, focused on his, at this big arena. And then he just walks, and he walks off, and he goes to a parking garage, and then him and this guy have a sword fight in this parking garage, and he cuts this dude's fucking head off. And then all the cars explode. And you have a German actor, or he might be French. I don't know what fucking Christopher Lambert is. But you have him playing a Scotsman, which he doesn't sound Scottish at all. And then Sean Connery is in it, who is Scottish, playing a Spanish guy who went to Japan and has a samurai sword, but he has a thick Scottish accent, but he's a Spaniard who is trained in Japanese fighting. but has a thick Scottish accent, and he talks to a Scots guy who pretty much can't speak English at all. So it's worth watching for that alone. And then Clancy Brown's in it. What are your thoughts on Big Trouble in Little China?
Now I know I've seen this one.
Son of a bitch
But
must pay.
I was on some certain green substance that's made me fall asleep halfway through it. But I've been wanting to do a John Carpenter catch-up thing soon for a video where like some of his movies I love, but I haven't seen all of them. So I want to do like a big John Carpenter catch-up. Just like Stanley Kubrick, I have like the films of his I have seen and love, and they're a part of my DNA. But there's other ones I haven't seen that I don't know if I should mention, otherwise I get yelled at.
How embarrassing.
No, but what I'll say is, Clockwork Orange is 1,000,000 times better than the new Joker movie. That's for fucking sure. And it was the inspiration for Heath Ledger's Joker. And that movie could do that without ripping a Clockwork Orange off directly.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if there's any last questions here real quick, because people are more just making comments. Like they're more just replying to things we're saying or talking about things. Or somebody's just saying, I'm from Egypt. The accents make sense in Highlander if you think about it. They've like 100 years and lived in different countries. I guess that's true. That the Highlanders themselves aren't from one place and they lived in different areas, so they don't have a specific accent to a region, I guess. Like I grew up in Texas and I don't have a southern accent. People think that everyone in Texas, talks like this. And I don't sound like that, but I think that's because a lot of people don't know that a lot of people in Texas don't talk like that. They assume everyone in the South has a southern accent.
Okay, so the Highlanders have like that. They speak like the Goobacks from South Park. Chicken sandwich.
Well, it's just a weird movie because, like, you would think you would cast a Scottish guy to play he's a Highlander. That's the whole thing. Like, the Highlanders aren't the characters. Like, he's the Highlander. They're just immortals who fight for the quickening, but he's not. People always call them Highlanders, but he's the only one that's a Highlander. Because the whole story is told through flashbacks when he dies in battle with the family that he fights for in Scotland, and then he comes back from the dead, and they all think he's like a demon or something. So he gets banished from his home, and then he finds out he has like these special powers and stuff like that. But that first movie is called The Highlander. But the problem is, like a lot of things, they turned it into a fucking franchise. So then it just became like The Highlander was a bunch of things, and it didn't make sense anymore why it was called The Highlander. Because at that point, he's not that anymore. He's some guy that lives in like the modern day that doesn't, and they're not even doing the flashbacks anymore. So,
man, maybe they should just get Zack Snyder to remake it. He'll make it clear.
Oh, I could totally see Zack Snyder wanting to fucking remake fucking Highlander. No question. Like, instead of sword fights, like they have these. One of the great things about the Highlanders, it has very strict rules. Like, you're only allowed to fight over sword combat. You can't use weapons. You can only kill another Highlander by cutting their head off. They can't die any other way. They only die by, decapitation. You can't fight on holy ground. You can't fight at a church or anything like that. You can't fight in a cemetery. You have to fight in specific places. But I feel like if Zack Snyder made it, he'd have, like, them sniping each other and shit. And, like, there'd be a Highlander with a machine gun and a bazooka. There'd be one Highlander that has a tank. One immortal, and they're just like blowing up other people.
And they'll be standing in front of a giant cross, and they'll be going, "Why should I save humanity?"
Yeah.
And then there's a Turkish Airlines plug, and then a lens flare.
There would be a Turkish Airlines fucking flag. It's fucking ridiculous. Oh my god. All right, y'all. What do you think about the release of the Snyder Cut movement? Somebody asked about that one. What are your thoughts on this whole release of the Snyder Cut, people?
Well, this is a situation that just keeps getting weirder and weirder. For my knowledge of filmmaking and what the actual Snyder Cut is, which was confirmed by Kevin Smith recently, that if they stopped shooting halfway through and got Joss Whedon in and he filmed an entirely separate 50% of the movie, that means all the stuff Zack Snyder would film would all still be on green screens. There'll be like just plates, all this like stuff that requires CGI stunt doubles and characters. So if there is a Snyder cut, then 50% of the audio isn't edited. There's no music, so they have to use temp. They have to get the actors back to do ADR. All this visual effects work that still needs to be completed in itself will be absolutely like not worth releasing, because you will never you can't just watch green screen footage and be like, oh, I'm so immersed in the story, because it's literally unfinished. And to that, if that's the situation, I'd say then don't release it. Who gives a shit if it's not completed? Then what's the point of watching it? But if Zack Snyder himself has said, maybe he didn't say it. I think I heard recently someone said that he funded the completion of it himself.
Mm-hmm.
And to that I say, fucking leak it. Just fucking leak it. Don't fuck Warner Brothers. What are they? How much are they going to sue you for if you do that? If you leak it and you don't even make profit off of it, then bam, you're still the rebel. All your fanboys think you are. You're rock star. Fuck the studio. That's how Deadpool got made. Just leak it. But no, they want an official release so we can make all the money back from it. If it's completed, that's the one of two ways. If it's incomplete, fucking delete it. If it is completed because you funded it and stuff, leak it.
So somebody asked me my thoughts on The Irishman. The Irishman is not coming to Columbus for another 3 days. It opens here on the 22nd, and then it's on Netflix on the 27th. So I have not seen The Irishman yet. But it is opening in my city. So I plan on seeing it. But I have yet to see it. I'd rather do a Parasite review right now. Anyway, but I plan on watching The Irishman. But it doesn't come here for another. I plan on seeing it in the theater, actually, because I can get a review out before everyone sees it on Netflix. So my hope is I can get in there that week right before it opens, before everyone fucking sees it. But most film critics have seemed to seen it, but I'm not like a lot of critics. I don't get screenings to movies before they come out, so I don't have to. I'm assuming I'm gonna like it though, from what I've read. It sounds good. It's like one of Scorsese's best reviewed movies, and I'm a fan. I did not like Silence. I'll say that. I think that's one of his worst films, and that was his last movie. But I like Wolf of Wall Street and all the other stuff he's been making recently, so I don't see why I would dislike this movie. And I'm not going in expecting like a Goodfellas Casino clone. I've heard comparisons that it's more like Once Upon a Time in America. So I'm in for that. It's more of a slower, introspective kind of film. But I want to see it. It looks awesome. I'm pumped for Scorsese, De Niro, especially Joe Pesci being back in a movie.
It's his big return.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see Joe Pesci in a movie again, so that's a big surprise for me. Because I feel like I've got enough of De Niro and Pacino over the last decade where I kind of like they have been dissatisfying me for so long now. I kind of got like pissed off at both of them. But now that they're with Scorsese, it's like, all right, fuck yeah, unfinished business. Because, I'm like a lot of film buffs. I was obsessed with De Niro and Pacino's work in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, and I've watched those movies many, many times. In particular, stuff like Dog Day Afternoon and all that's like a big deal to me. Have you seen Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Yes. That's funny you asked that. I've like watched it all of it like recently.
What'd you think of it?
It's fun. It's fun how much you think about it and like shit that just doesn't make sense, but then you start reading into it and it like becomes a fun little exploration thing. Just please just say the fucking girls are 20 and it'll be fine. All this, they're 14 and then it gets all sexual and you're like, ugh. It's like, am I watching softcore illegal porn? But like, it's funny seeing that after seeing Pacific Rim, because now I can see how much Pacific Rim takes.
Yes.
It's essentially the same thing.
The scene where they pick up the ship specifically in Pacific Rim is straight up from Ava. Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw Pacific Rim. A lot of the time I was watching, I was just like, oh, this is like an Avon movie.
But I wouldn't say a shameless clone just because Pacific Rim's trying to be original. But I think Pacific Rim's taking like the core elements that work from Evangelion and like getting rid of the shit that doesn't make sense. But like even though Pacific Rim's it's kind of flat when it's not action scenes.
The lead actor is a big problem with that movie.
Yeah,
Charlie Hunnam he's boring in that movie. He doesn't have a lot of. He's like a block of wood.
Yeah, and everything he fucking says when they're in the Jaegers is so frustrating because he just keeps saying Marco's name again and again. He's like, Marco, all right, Marco, hold on to this, Marco. Look out, Marco. We got to brace for it, Marco.
I know, it's bad. It's like whenever Guillermo del Toro makes an American movie, his dialogue gets shittier. Like, you watch, like, The Devil's Backbone, you watch Pan's Labyrinth, you know, you watch his foreign films, or you watch Kronos, you're like, holy shit, this guy's a genius. How did he get these movies to look so good? You know, wow, they're beautiful. And then, yeah, like, you watch the Hellboy movies or Pacific Rim, which I like all these movies, but they're, like, way cheesier than his other movies. He writes this really, like what I think he thinks is comic booky or anime, like, dialogue, but it doesn't translate well to a live-action movie. Yeah, that was, like, one of my big issues with Pacific Rim is just how fucking cheesy the lead character is. And how bad his dialogue is. It's like fucking annoying because you want a lead character you really can follow because you have this like structure where it's like, hey, his brother dies at the beginning, and then he meets a girl who lost her parents, and it's like they have to learn to move on together through this Jaeger and this mind bond that you go through, which is one of the more interesting concepts of the movie. Like when he sees what happens to her, that's a really cool scene. She's a little girl, and it's almost got this thing where you can live out these memories with people. It's almost got this like Inception or Nightmare on Elm Street like thing, like you're inside someone's mind and anything can happen. There's no logic to it. It's cerebral in that way. But then he goes back to this like, yeah, elbow rocket, or they just pull a sword out randomly that they didn't have before. And yeah, you just do not give a fuck about that league. I like the supporting cast of that movie. I like Charlie Day. I like Idris Elba. But Charlie Hunnam in the lead is fucking terrible.
Yeah, he's really, really bad casting.
Yeah, really bad. And it hurts the movie because he's so much of the goddamn movie. And scenes that I think would be fun with the right actor. If you had a different actor in that role, I think they could have pulled off a lot of those scenes.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. All right. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you for being on, man. We went way longer than I was expecting. We're almost at 3. This is turning into a fucking EFAP.
No. Yeah, that's been fun though.
It has been fun, man. I could keep talking to you. I mean, that's the thing. I just don't. Yeah, at some point it's getting because I could keep talking to you for fucking hours. I'm enjoying myself. Having this back and forth, but yeah, thanks for being on, man. I hope you had a good time, and thank you for everyone who tuned in, and I'll see you for Please Rewind 4, which will probably have a new guest, and if you haven't already subscribed to Cordery's channel, CorderyFX, do I say that right? Is it Cordery?
Cordery. Yeah.
Okay, CorderyFX. Where'd that come from? Is that just like a play on your name or something like that, or a nickname? Cordery?
It's my last name, but the channel was intended at the beginning to be like I do like visual effects stuff on it. Mm-hmm. And man, the amount of times I've been beating myself up, I was like, why didn't I change the name before I released that Alien Covenant review? But I just didn't expect it to blow up. So I could have had my own name. I had a different name to start off with that would be a better.
Oh, I see.
Although somehow it's memorable, I guess.
I think the FX thing makes it work. I think if you didn't have... Did you ever see that movie FX where the guy's like a special effects guy? And he gets like a... They made 2 of them. And then he uses like special effects like stuff to like stop these criminals. It's a really fun movie. It's like if a guy was a magician and he used his magic to stop people to guys like a special effects artist. It's like if Stan Winston was like if he fought crime with fucking special effects. CorderyFX. I like the name though. But if you haven't subscribed to his channel, please subscribe to it. He makes fucking amazing content. It goes without saying. I think all of his videos are good. I don't think you've made a bad video that I've seen yet. And I would be honest and tell you if I thought one of your videos was bad, but I don't think you've made anything bad yet. And
Cheers for that.
yeah, so far, I mean, you might make something totally shit at some point. I'm waiting for that. But you know you have yet to really disappoint. You have a very consistent channel, which is one of the reasons I subscribed to you in the first place. Is that when you get a video from me, you kind of know what you're gonna get. And it's nice to be like, oh, this is gonna be worth my time, you know, because I don't want to waste a half hour. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. So we're just gonna end it here, and that's it, people. Thank you very much, my friend.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me on. And goodbye.